Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the very latest episode of the Hard Compound Live. For those of you who don't know, my name's Rich and I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport, and we can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and these chats can be found on YouTube as well. Excuse me. We're here to share a love of motorsport. Nothing else, no controversy, no arguing, no nonsense, just the bits that we love. Search for the Hard Compound on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Come and join the fun. As I say, we're here to share a love of motorsport. We do that with usually 3 written articles every day. These go out at about 9 o'clock in the morning in the UK, about 2 p.m. and about 8:30 in the evening. And we cover everything from F1 to IndyCar to the World Endurance Championship to touring cars, bikes, rallying, and anything we can shake a stick at, really. And we do that by writing race reviews, race previews, throwbacks, birthdays, breaking news, favorite liveries, etc., etc. So that's why we're here. Come along. We'd love to have you on board. In case you hadn't noticed, we also do live video interviews just like this one. And just like this one, these go out on our Facebook, our Twitter, and our YouTube channel. And they're saved in the video section on Facebook and in the live section over on YouTube. We've done over 200 of these. I'm not going to name all the guests that we've had because I can't. We've been very fortunate, but we've spoken to the likes of Mr. Mario Andretti and Jackie Ickx and Chip Ganassi, guys like Hans Stuck, excuse me, guys like Jackie Oliver. We've had a lot of the British touring car grid, world touring car drivers and champions. We've spoken with people who have won the Indy 500, guys like Alanza Jr. and Will Power and Alex Palou. We've spoken with Ari Lyondike. Excuse me. My apologies. We've spoken with guys who have raced in Formula One and have raced in the World Endurance Championship and Le Mans, guys like Stefan Johansson, David Brabham, guys like Carl Wendling and Mika Salo, Takuma Sato, Ukya Katayama, David Richards from ProDrive's been on, Malcolm Wilson's been on, Peter Solberg from the rallying world, etc., etc. But we've spoken to people who have done well in the World Endurance Championship, as I said, who have won Le Mans. And done very well in sports cars, guys like Emanuele Pirro and people like that. So that's a cross section. Go and check those out, but don't do it just yet, because tonight we have got a fantastic guest who's going to give us a view of motorsport from a slightly different angle. He's been the head of motorsport with Audi, where he's operated within Formula E and in the DTM and their 24 Hours of Le Mans program. He's been a race engineer for Toyota and Lotus in Formula One, and he's currently the boss of Cadillac Hertz team Jota in the World Endurance Championship. So without any further ado, because you haven't tuned in to listen to me, we're going to bring him in right now. Please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Dieter Gass.
Hello, good evening.
Here we are. Dieter, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Bit of a cold, but it's okay.
Yes, we're in that time of year where winter's definitely arrived, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely here.
We had some snow already in Germany.
Oh, Craig. Well, we had a snow flurry last week, but we haven't had anything quite like what you guys get. But there's definitely a warm coffee is needed. So firstly, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat this evening. I know you're very, very busy, certainly with a recent driver change, which we're going to come to in a minute. So thank you very much for coming on this evening. I'm very grateful.
Pleasure, Rich.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. Just very quickly, I'm going to turn my attention to the comment section. It looks like it's working. Everyone on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and everywhere are tuning in. Thank you very much. I can see some comments coming in. So the technology works. If you have any questions or comments, do work them in or chat amongst themselves. But yes, if you have any questions, do type them in. I'll be keeping an eye and we'll work them in as and when we can to get you guys involved as well, which is why we're here. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Right, there we go. That's the housekeeping done. Excuse me. I have a little frog in my throat this evening. Sorry, folks. Firstly, before we get into everything, it's been quite a good year, hasn't it, for you, Dieter? It's been quite good in the World Endurance Championship there, and you've a few highlights, a win, and a front row lockout in a certain race that we all know about.
Yes.
And just quickly, I just want to talk about the driver change, because obviously we are English over here, we're Brits, and unfortunately Jensen has retired, but we've got Jack Aitken in, and Jack's been on here for a chat as well. It's an exciting move, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Obviously, on the one hand, it's sad to see Jensen go. because it was really a pleasure working with him. But at the end of the day, I think he simply has too much on his plate to be able to focus on the WEC program in the way that it is really necessary with this car and with the level of competition that we are having right now. So I think it was a healthy move for him to say goodbye to this world and focus on all his other programs. And obviously we got a very good replacement with Jack. He's very familiar with the car. He has shown his pace not only in WEC as well in DTM. I've observed that a little bit from the distance, and I'm really looking forward to having him in the team.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm certainly very much looking forward to seeing him on there. As I said, he came on for a chat at the start of last year. Because for people who know, the Williams F1 headquarters is about 30 miles down the road from me, and so I know him from driving from Williams. But he's just he's a really nice guy, isn't he? And but he drives like he is as a person, just very kind of level but spectacular when he has to be. And I guess that was kind of the appeal, was it, of getting Jack in, obviously after the test he did in November.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think there's no discussion about the level of pace that he has. But another important argument as well was the fact that he's running in IMSA as well. And we've seen in the past, I mean, we've learned it this year on our own, but we have seen it as well in our Porsche experience when we were running the customer hypercar. Porsche really made a big step when they joined the programs between IMSA and WEC. 2023, that wasn't really the case. 2024, they were really working together a lot in changing data and learning one from the other. And I think you saw the results on the track that the car really picked up the pace. And this is something that we observed, that we were pushing right from the word go with Cadillac as well, to do the same, working together with the IMSA teams, with Action Express and Wayne Taylor. And I think this is going to be our approach as well for the future.
Yeah.
And the driver who drives both championships helps a lot in that concern.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, as you say, he kind of knows the Cadillac as well from his experience. So I've just seen in the comments a guy called Sean Lewis, who I know is a huge Cadillac fan. He has said Jack is going to be mega next year, and he's really looking forward to seeing what he can do in WEC. And I am fully in agreement with that. So looking forward to it. It should be good. But obviously we're going to come to the current situation in WEC very shortly. But we have got a mountain of things to get through because you've done so much. It's been an incredible career. But what I like to do though is start right at the very start. You were born in Gießen, and which I said off camera, I've actually been to as part of a school exchange 30 odd years ago. What came first? Was it the interest in kind of engineering and mechanical things, or was it motorsport, or was it both at the same time? How did it all come into your mind?
Well, it was very, very clearly it was motorsport because my father was a rally driver, so I got exposed to motorsport at a very, very young age, and obviously fell in love with it straight away. And the engineering background that really came a lot later because basically my father, he had a small company doing thermoplast boxes and flat surfaces and things like that.
Sure.
And I was supposed to be taking over the commercial side, and my brother was supposed to take over the technical side. So he was on the engineering path, while I thought I would become some commercial person. Unfortunately, my father passed away already when I was still quite young, so my mother kept on doing the business. And by the time the oil crisis came, everything got a little bit too uncertain for her. So she sold the business right in the year when I finished school. Right. So I was there thinking between me and myself, okay, what are you going to do now with your life? And I was looking at different things. I mean, economics, that was something that everybody did who didn't know what he wanted to do. I think that's still a little bit the case in many situations today. So I've been looking at engineering, and I did some tests as well with business partners from our company, with BASF, for example, in Ludwigsburg. And there was a strong hint that I was quite good in logical thinking, and I said, okay, why not engineering? And this is how I got to engineering.
I love that kind of a route that kind of wasn't really planned, but it just kind of fell into place almost. It just kind of happened that way. Which which is always nice when that kind of thing happens. Just I mean, you said like there was a love of motorsport first, and I didn't know this until you sent me an email. I think it was yesterday. I think it was, and you said that you did a bit of racing when you were when you were younger. How did you first start to go racing? I mean, was there anything, because you mentioned that you've raced in the R5 Cup and things like that.
Yeah.
Was there anything before that? Anything like to do with like karts or anything like that? Or
yeah, I mean, obviously, my brother and I, we were both into racing from really as small kids. We had a small go-kart that we drove at home, really at the area of the factory, and we would have liked to go on karting, but that was not exactly the taste of my mother when my father had passed away. So she was a little bit afraid, and we then both started doing what we could afford at the time when we were 18. So started slalom races in Germany, because that's something affordable that you can do as well with the German championship and everything. And then I went one season in hill climbing, and actually I finished straight away 5th in the German hill climb trophy. There was a championship and a trophy. I finished 5th in the trophy, and I said, okay, with the same effort and the same money, you can't do anymore. So I was looking into the Polo Cup first, because I was always somehow linked. My father was rallying with Porsche. We were driving always Volkswagen products, so I was linked to that. I wanted to do the Polo Cup, and at the time I was studying in Darmstadt, and it happened that I was contacting a team which was doing Polo Cup and Renault 5 Cup, and the team owner told me, Dieter, forget the Polo Cup. Everybody's cheating there. Do a Renault 5 because there at least it's controlled and it's fair, and that's the best chance that you have. So this is how I ended up in the Renault 5 Cup.
Fantastic. And for those of us of a certain age, we have fond memories of the Renault 5. It was a fantastic little car, and it was a great car to go racing in as well. And you said that you had, was it 3 seasons you had in the series?
3 with the Renault 5, and then it was replaced by the Clio, yeah.
Okay, right. I mean, that must have been great fun, though, racing the Renault 5, because I loved it when I was a kid. It was a great car.
Oh, it was absolutely great fun. I mean, I remember when I was telling my mother again, unfortunately, she had seen the infamous very first race in Hockenheim when the cars rolled over coming into the Motordrome.
Yes.
And she said, no, you're not going to do that. This is where the cars always roll over. And I said, these times are gone. It's okay. And I mean, it proved to be a lot of fun. Very difficult in the beginning. That was still the Renault 5 Turbo, and there obviously you need to have the experience with the turbo, and it had a boost regulation in the car which you could use. So you need to know what you were doing. So that was a bit of a fight in the beginning. But then the second season in Germany and Switzerland at the time, we had the Renault 5 injection coming to race. And then for me, it started to get serious because I was a lot more competitive. And I mean, this was just, it was bump drafting all the way on the old Hockenheim, for example, and in Salzburg, bump drafting all the way through the forest in groups of 3-4 cars. It was really hilarious. And in the second season, I had a teammate. Basically, he was, I mean, you see, I'm reasonably big built and heavy, even though I wasn't just as heavy as I'm now at the time. But I had a teammate who was like 1.60 meters and 65 kilos, and we were pairing up in qualifying, always together. And I was in front, he behind, and he was pushing me down the straight. So when we got out of the corner, he was already on my bumper, pushing me down the straight. And we finished there were 7 races at the time. We finished 5 times 1-2 and 1 time 1-3 in the qualifying.
Wow.
So yeah, and unfortunately we only ended up 2nd and 3rd in the championship. I was 3rd at the time. He's 2nd, and another teammate, he won the championship that time. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and then obviously the Clio came in, and the first season with the Clio, effectively, I won the championship in Germany.
That's fantastic. I mean, obviously, that experience of racing and kind of steering because in that close racing, the drafting and everything else like that must have been exciting. And obviously, and then to win the championship, that must have felt great. And thinking, I might be quite good at this. I mean, did you ever think of like taking it further, or was there any like financial constraints or anything like that kind of stopped you from really progressing a little further?
Oh, all of that, really. I mean, the whole thing honestly was a bit of a financial struggle, I have to say. Finding sponsors was difficult, and at home, obviously, the budget was not unlimited, so I was looking for sponsors all the time. I remember very well when I went to the local Renault dealer at Renault Appel at Gießen at the time. To ask him for support, because basically my father's rally co-driver, he told me, go to the Apple family, they could support you in the Renault 5 Cup. And I went there, and the way they said hello to me was basically, you come, Gerd Frey, he sent you to us. He did us a really great favor there. So I thought, okay, that was it. But effectively, that happened to be a very good cooperation, which lasted through the 4 years, with some really good support from them at the time. But to come back to the other part of your question, did I have targets to move on? My target clearly was DTM at the time. I knew that I was too late getting in, too old, too big to think about any Formula career. That was really out of question right from the beginning. But I thought, touring cars maybe could go further than that. And then after winning the championship in Germany, that was the year when I started working for Bugatti in Italy. So
Right.
there were basically two things happening at the same time. First, the winner at the time got excluded from the championship in Germany, so I couldn't have done it again. In Italy, I had zero contacts, so I couldn't really do anything there. But I had a teammate at the time in the German Clio team who basically was doing the DTT, what it was called. It was a Group N national championship, just one step below DTM, and then you had the DTC, which was another step below the DTT, if I explained that right. So he said, I'm doing the DTT. You can have my car. You race it in the DTC. All I ask of you is put it back in the conditions so that I can race it again in DTT the weekend after.
Okay.
Which was really a super fair deal, what he offered to me. So I went to Hockenheim, first race, never driven a rear-wheel drive car, and I did have some respect from the car, but I got some good instruction from the test driver in Bugatti that I know very well. So he told me a little bit how to drive the M3, and I went for it. I managed to get the car on pole.
Wow.
And like half an hour before the race start, the tuner of that car came to me and he said, Dieter, I need to tell you, we have slightly increased the camshaft, so the valve stroke. And I said, okay, thank you. I don't race with an illegal car. And that was the end of my motorsport career at the end of the day, because from doing this from Italy already was a massive stretch financially, even if I had the car, which I didn't have to pay. Then there were only 7 races, and I knew if I wanted to develop, and I had to basically go in that championship and win and do the DTT the year after. That was the only way if I wanted to achieve my target to come to the DTM. Not having done the first race at all, with 7 races in the championship, there was no chance. So I stopped it in the interest of financial health as well, and lack of possibility.
Fair enough. I mean, I think it's nice that you just, you said the car had been changed, and you just went, no, I'm not. If it's not completely right, then you're not going to do it. And I think that's obviously stood you in good stead for what's happened in the last 30 years since. But I mean, obviously you wanted to keep racing. I mean, even with financial constraints. I mean, was it difficult to step away and think, right, I am going to go and do something else? Because, as you said, you were already with Bugatti.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was really busy working at the time at Bugatti. In the beginning, I was engaged to work on the ABS system of the car, and it was actually one of the first supercars who had an ABS system in it. But Bugatti at the time, being a very small company, obviously you start doing more. I started working on the brakes. I started to do a lot of test drives and things like that. So it was not too difficult to step away. I did a couple of attempts in the 24 hours of Nürburgring at the time, but then really, yeah, that was it for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Excuse me. As you said, you were working in Italy with the very famous Bugatti, who we all know the history of, things like that. You were involved in the 1994 Le Mans entry. Was it the EB110? A brilliant looking car. I actually had a quick look at it in the last few days, especially in the blue. A really beautiful looking car. What was your role like within the process of getting that car ready and getting it all heading towards Le Mans?
Yeah, actually, that car was basically planned for Michel Homel. Michel Homel is an editor in France who does Échappement. And at the time, he set himself a target to bring a new brand to Le Mans every year. And the first choice he had was the Bugatti EB110. He had a team in Le Mans, actually, sitting in Le Mans, who was preparing the car. And we were basically supplying the car, powertrain, and everything. But really, the adaptation to it becoming a race car, that was done with a team.
Okay.
And I was doing the technical coordination between the team and the factory. And
Nice.
as well, quite some test driving at Paul Ricard with Eric Elary and at the Circuit Bugatti in Le Mans together with Alain Cudini. So that was a massive experience already in the run up to the event, which then again after that was another highlight with many hiccups and emotions really.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I remember it, pretty well. And there were so many people that were just absolutely delighted to see Bugatti on the grid and just seeing them taking part. Taking part in the race and everything. I mean, did you feel any kind of pressure? This was your first kind of real standalone role in motorsport, I guess, and it was quite a big one. For for like Le Mans and everything else. Was there any pressure to like deliver there, like from from the factory at Bugatti or anything like that, or did you feel like this? We're going onto the world stage here, and everyone's going to be looking at us. Was there any nerves?
No, not really for that, because we knew that
Good.
we were nowhere near to a program compared to other competitors with the testing before. I mean, there was no endurance running and things like that, and we just wanted to go there and trying to make it to the finish. And I mean, obviously, we had a strong lineup with Cudini, Elary, and Jean-Pierre Marcher, who was planned at the time, and then basically what happened was that Malcher sent the fax at the time to the day of the scrutineering. Yeah, no emails, just a fax. The day of scrutineering, declaring that he was sick and he couldn't come. So we were standing there, and Cudini and Elary, they said straight away, we're not going to do the racing too. We need a third driver. So what are we going to do? Somebody came up then, I think it was one of maybe Eric Larry, that I could do it with them because I had tested the car with them and it was all going fine. So I was very close actually to racing in Le Mans for the 24 hours on my own. But at the time, having stopped 3 years earlier, I didn't have a B license,
Right.
because I mean I didn't need it, and we contacted at the time the ONS, what it was called before, the DMSB, and they said no, the success that you had is too long ago, so we can't do a B license. So
That's a shame.
that dream ended, and we got Jean-Christophe Bouillon, who was supposed to be the new Alain Prost at the time. And he came with really very, very high hopes. But effectively, it was him crashing the car 14 minutes from the end. For no
I was
purpose.
going to say, which was obviously a real shame, having got so far into the race and everything.
Yes.
But and the car did go on, the incarnations of it. It went on to do well at Watkins Glen, I think, didn't it? And there was another.
Yeah, that was a different car
than
than already. I mean, basically, what happened when I did Le Mans, I understood that actually it's a lot better making money in motorsport rather than spending it in motorsport and trying to drive. And I was looking outside for a job in motorsport, and this is how I ended up in Audi. But effectively, you're right. The car was really fast, and as I mentioned before, the race weekend really was a complete roller coaster from the beginning to the end. I mean, remember when we were in the workshop firing up the car, and we struggled to bleed the water. The water cooling circuit, and we were afraid of blowing the engine there. And then we go to Le Mans. We had a very good qualifying. I think we were 18 in the qualifying. And basically, what happened then? We go to the warm up, and at the road car, the EB110, he has actually two fuel cells, one on the left-hand side and one on the right-hand side, next to the driver and the co-driver. And for the race car, there was a connection made through the cockpit on the bottom and on the top of the fuel cell. On the bottom to fill it up, and on the top basically to breathe the two fuel cells. And warm up was the first time really with full tanks, and we had the fuel cell leaking at the connection point.
Oh, wow.
So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do between the warm up? Okay, spare fuel cell. Spare fuel cell not available, was in repair. So what we did, we made a repair on track with RL did at the time. Obviously, that there was no time for it to harden between the warm up and the race. We went into the race with like half tank, and we were gradually filling up more when we got more confidence. I think Guidini, who did the start in the first lap, but I think he probably looked more behind, trying to understand if the fuel cell was leaking or not, and we dropped some positions. But from then onwards, when we started running with full fuel all the time, we came up through the field, and in the morning, I think it was around 7 o'clock, we were sixth in the overall, and that was really something that we wouldn't have expected.
No, sure.
Absolutely. But then a turbo failed, and then we had a saga with the turbos failing one after the other. You know, the car had 4 turbos, and the first one failed after the next thing, the next one failed. So we said, okay, we're going to replace them all 4. And obviously, we lost a lot of time. And at the end of the race, it was really just a matter to see the flag anymore. But yeah, the car was performing well.
Yeah, that's great. And I love the fact that the issue wasn't, like the problem with the car wasn't the one that you thought it might be at the start with the fuel cell and everything.
Yes.
It's good that all survived. No, fantastic. So I've just seen a whole raft of comments come in. Sorry, folks, they've all come in at once. People are talking about Toyota and F1 and Audi and things like that. We're going to come to that very soon, guys. I have also seen that a guy called Michael Crease, who races in the British Touring Car Championship here, he's a bronze driver, and he says that he's available if needed.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen one comment as well asking how it was working at Bugatti at the time, and I wanted to reply to that as well, because basically, for a young engineer, working in Bugatti in the very beginning was really living the dream, because it was a young company. The money was there at the beginning, and for a young engineer to learn and get an idea about what the car is and what it needs to be, starting at the very, very top of it all, because the Bugatti really had everything that you could imagine in the car. It had the third turbochargers, 4-wheel drive, ABS, 5-valve cylinder heads, carbon fiber monocoque, everything. You name it, the car got it. And we were working on active suspension as well. And I think before Le Mans, I was probably one of the first, if not the first person to do a carbon brake homologation for a road car.
Wow.
Yes, because the regulation was such that basically you could race everything which was homologated for a race car, for a road car, even it was not possible to buy it or to order the car with these brakes. And thanks God nobody could, because at the time carbon brakes were very, very far away from being something that you could think about using on the road.
No, sure. That's what's happening. Obviously, that question, that comment was from Dylan Stratton, who lives just down the road from me. Hello, Dylan. Thanks very much for tuning in. And I'm sure that answers it. And yeah, as you say, what a fantastic place.
Living the dream, really. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible place to start. And obviously, unfortunately, the whole project unfortunately went bankrupt before Le Mans 1995. And you said that it kind of, the pull of earning money rather than spending it through various ways got you into Audi, which would be a huge part of your life over a couple of spells. How did that move to Audi come about? Did you basically just want a job and approach them, or had they seen what you were doing and approached you? How did it all come to be that you ended up working for one of the biggest names in the automotive world?
Yeah, funny enough, my brother and I, we grew up together. We have similar mindsets and things like that, even though our lives ended up to unfold very, very differently, because we've spoken about, I've moved around quite a bit. He started to do his diploma thesis in Audi, and he retired from Audi, I think, a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Yes. So he spent his whole working life in Audi, mainly working on ABS and on like ASR, ESP, things like that. So electronic control systems. Because I think mainly for him, one big element was that there was a lot of driving involved, like as well on the Nordschleife, on the ice in Sweden, and things like that. That kept him having fun at work. And at the time, he was approached by Audi Sport if he wasn't interested to come work in motor racing. Okay. And he said, "Oh, not really, but I have a brother who might be interested." And this is how the contact came.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I love that. I mean, I guess when we think of Audi, especially us Brits, we kind of think, just like think about the precision and the engineering and things done the right way and things like that. But I love the fact that your brother just went, "No, but I've got my brother." That's fantastic. And you were, was it 95 you moved there? You moved on to, was it the Super Touring like project? And I've got in my notes here, I've made an assumption. Was this across the like Super Touring Wagen Masters, the British touring cars and everything? Was it the whole package, as it were, or was it just in Germany to begin with?
Effectively, I moved over in November 94. So I was already there for the 95 season. And basically, I did this technical team coordination very much in a way as I did with Bugatti at Le Mans. In 95, I was in the German championship. In 96, I was in the Italian championship. And in 97, when Audi, when it was clear that the Quattro would be banned because it was too good for everybody else,
yes.
I was involved in the development of the front-wheel drive A4.
Right.
So okay. I was the race engineer at the time, working closely together with a very good friend of mine, Joe Hausner, who was the test engineer, and we were sharing the work there quite a bit between racing and testing.
Okay, that's fantastic. And obviously, in this era, I mean, I've spoken to a lot of, I've spoken to a lot of drivers who raced in Germany and Italy and in the British touring cars in the 90s. I've had Mr. Pirro on here, and Fabrizio Giovanardi's been on, and guys like that. It was a fantastic era of touring car racing, wasn't it? I mean, to many, it was kind of the era of touring car racing. You mentioned the front-wheel drive Audi A4. I just want to talk about the four-wheel drive though, because when that came along, everyone just went, "What is what's this?" Because it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, what are your memories of your involvement in that fantastic car?
Yeah, as I said, I wasn't really involved in the development side. I was involved on the racing side and on the coordination between the teams in Germany and in Italy and the factory, basically reporting back on the program, on the problems, looking at the lifing and supporting the teams in setting up the cars with the experience that I had, basically from what I've seen in Audi during the testing and everything.
Right. I mean, you mentioned about the lifing of parts. That was something that came up in the very first chat I had on here. Something that I hadn't really thought about. The guy called like Rob Gravitt, who won the British Touring Car Championship in 1990, and he was changing gear, and the gear stick came off in his hand because of metal fatigue, things like that. Those cars was, I mean, obviously they were very well engineered, very well made,
Yeah.
but the speed and the tensions on things as well. I mean, I don't want to dig too deep, but did you go through parts quite quickly on sometimes? Because I imagine those touring cars, it was so powerful and they were they were being thrown around a bit. I mean, was it a difficult thing to get a handle on the like lifing of the parts?
Yes, because mainly, obviously, in the world of a mechanic, especially at that times, writing down numbers and part numbers was not exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to work on the car, finish the car, and get it racing. And
I'm sure.
so that really needed to have some follow up and perseverance on getting all the data together. But we know it is fundamental to avoid exactly this kind of problem that you describe, of cars breaking when they shouldn't. Obviously, not all the cars made it to the end of their life because of the nature of the beast in the racing. But yeah, there were many components which made it to the end of their life, and they were refurbished and controlled and crack tested and everything, and then doing another cycle. So effectively, in terms as well of budget control, that was already an important element, rather than throwing the parts away and putting new ones in without knowing really what you're doing.
Sure. I sort of love all that, the stuff behind the scenes that people fans don't see. I love all that kind of stuff. There's a question about Audi and F1. We're going to come to that in a minute. Just quickly though, at that time, a certain quite good German racing driver, Mr. Stuck, had just done very well in 94, 95. Obviously, he had such great experience in F1 and everything else. Did you spend much time talking to Hans? Because he's been on here for a chat. Lovely guy. I guess any information you got from him or any feedback you got from him was like well worth having, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it was very nice talking to him. And Hans, obviously, he was an outright racer, which is always nice to have a driver like that with a lot of experience. But I would say at the end of the day, in testing, especially for the Quattro, it was more Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro who were developing the car.
Right.
Very different kind of drivers, very different kind of feedback as well. Frank was the driver. He sat in the car, he drove it, and he told you what he felt. And he was one of the first drivers actually that I saw who sometimes said as well, I don't feel the difference. Many other drivers, if you make a change on the car, they have to feel it and tell you what it is.
They felt like they had to, right?
Exactly. But if he told you something, you knew that you could rely on. Right. And Emanuele is the complete opposite. He is the one who is always analyzing to the smallest detail, trying to understand the background, the technical side of it, what it was really supposed to be doing, and so on and so on, and with a very detailed feedback all the time.
Yeah, I've as I said, I've like had him on here for a chat, and just the loveliest guy. But I can absolutely understand what you're saying there, because it's just, I don't know what it is about him. He can it's so much detail that he likes to go into, and he likes to know exactly what's going on. but it never comes across in a bad way, like he's being annoying
No,
or anything like that. He's just the loveliest man, isn't he? He's such a nice guy.
Absolutely, yes. But
Yeah.
Professional, and maybe we come to that later in an episode when we're going to talk about the start of the R8 and when I was race engineering in the American Le Mans series.
Absolutely right, because that car was an absolute game changer. We've just got a couple of bits to come to before that. Just quickly while we're on the subject of Audi, we've got like Jane Hutchinson. Hello, Jane. She lives just down the road as well. We're just going to touch on this. She's looking forward to Audi coming into F1. I think we all are next year. With the Sauber effort. Just wondering your kind of thoughts on that. Obviously, it's a bit of an unknown. We've got new regulations and all kinds of things going on. I'm certainly looking forward to it. It'll be great to see them, to see Audi back at the top table, so to speak.
Yeah, obviously, I was not involved into that at all, and as you know, I've spent some time in F1 as well outside of the UK, and I just think it is very, very difficult to do F1 successfully outside of the UK. If you allow, probably not because the English are more clever than anybody else in the world, but it's simply because that's where the experience is. That's where everybody is. That's where all the teams are, and where the knowledge is. And that was one of the biggest problems during the Toyota times. We jump subject here a little bit, but still, Toyota, in the beginning, they thought we do it the Toyota way. We target non-experienced F1 engineers, and we develop everything on our own. But they very quickly discovered that this is not the way to go. So they tried to get expertise in from UK mainly. And what happened is either you were throwing money, you have to throwing money at people to come over to Germany, or the people came for a different position. Yeah, you had a junior engineer coming as a senior. But at the end of the day, those guys they stayed a couple of years, and then they went back to the UK in another higher position for more money, and this is how it was dealt. And we all know, if you want to succeed in racing, you have to have stability. And like this is what it was extremely difficult to build stability, and this is the concern that I have for the Audi program. While Toyota, that was Cologne, not Neuburg an der Donau. Sorry to say, and there was no budget cap. So it was possible to throw money at people and get them to work over with a budget cap situation. Again, that's another complexity that they have to face. And we'll see how it pans out. But for sure, they really chose the hard way to come into Formula One.
Yes, yeah. And, we're saying even a giant like Ferrari is struggling a bit, with various parts of it. And as you say, it's the teams that are kind of based in the UK that are doing well. So maybe in future there might be a move to Silverstone or something like that. But we'll have to see. But it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yes.
So yes, we'll see how it goes. I think there's a reason that perhaps Sauber or Stake or whatever they're called these days have struggled in that. What you've touched on may well be part of that. So we'll see. My friend Chris Josie is on. Hello, Chris. He said, "Are you involved with the new F1 Audi team?" No, you're not. You are not involved with Audi at all. Which we'll come to why very shortly, Chris. Right. So yes, very quick. So towards 98, 99, obviously you've gone through the whole touring, the super touring era. Excuse me. I've got here that you were moved to the role of technical project manager. How did that differ from the role you had before? Was it just overseeing things rather than being right at the coalface, or how did that change through 98 and 99?
Yeah, that was the time when things changed to really project management in Audi, because there were different projects as well going on with a prototype coming on. And there was a general program manager or project leader and a technical project leader. And I was a technical project leader. That means that I oversaw technically the complete program and all the championships where Audi was participating at the time.
Okay, right.
Rather than focusing on one team.
Okay, so it was more like a wider view of everything. Obviously, there were more success for Audi in 1999 in the DTM. But going into the new
STW, it was
sorry, STW. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
I will hold my hand up.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's easy to mix that up.
Oh yeah,
there were different times with different strength, but that was a super touring.
Yeah.
And the 99 number 99, I had moved over already for the coordination of the R8C, and the 99 program, that was a really privately run program from Abt Sportsline, which was again very successful.
Yeah, for sure.
And they, being a private effort, they were able to come back to the Quattro, not running the front wheel drive.
Right. Okay. Which helped. I'm sure. Certainly helped a bit. You touched on it there. You kind of moved over to the like Le Mans side of things, the endurance racing, things like that. Was it kind of always your kind of hope or plan to get into the sports car GT kind of area rather than the touring cars, or was it just something that happened organically for you? That kind of move.
That rather happened organically, because basically the decision was made to go to Le Mans. And at that time, I need to admit, I was looking at that program. I thought that would be really, really interesting. And I was still first with the touring cars. But then in 99, when Audi decided to field 4 cars, actually, an open top and a closed top sports car, one being developed in Ingolstadt and one being developed in England, I then got involved in the program with the R8C, which was developed in sunny Hingham next to Norwich.
Yes. Not sure about sunny. My brother lives in Norwich. It's cold. It's a cold place.
But it's a nice place, especially with children, really.
It is. It is a lovely place.
I saw that later on, because the funny thing with all that is that, I mean, if we ignore Tunbridge Wells, where I'm working now with Jota, I worked twice in the UK and twice in the very same building in Hingham.
Wow. Of course, yeah.
The R8C was built in the same building as the Lotus F1
As the Lotus, yeah. Of course it was, yeah. Well, there are worse places in the UK to be, for sure. Which is great. And just getting on to the like 24 hours of like Le Mans project, technical coordinator. The R8R which was in existence when you joined the program. I'm a bit of a nerd about that car. I kind of like it, just like the aerodynamic. I've got with the high side pods and all the vents for the turbos and all that kind of stuff. It was a great looking car. What was your? Was there much development of it when you arrived in the role? Because obviously the car was changing, and you were looking forward to the future.
Sure. I mean, from the first car, which was I think presented in 1998 without racing, there was already quite a significant change to the car, which effectively raced in 1999. And there was a lot of work done on the whole car, but especially as well on the gearbox, because at that time the gearbox was still one of the critical parts in an endurance race car at Le Mans, a part that could effectively fail and ruin the race result. So basically, there was a development done on a pneumatically controlled shifting, which came in really last minute on the R8R.
Right.
And the technical staff in Hingham decided, no, that's too much risk, that's too complex to introduce in that very short time. Because, I mean, you have to know that I started working on the program, and the program didn't start a lot earlier than the moment I started, and I started in December 98.
Wow. Okay.
And the race was in June. So I don't need to tell you what you can develop in that time and what you can test and what endurance runs you can do. I mean, it was really a last minute program. So we didn't really have time to do everything that we would have liked to do. So the car ran with a conventional shifting, and effectively both cars retired with a gearbox problem.
Wow. Okay.
While the R8Rs finished the race in P3 and P4.
Yes, which was just going to be my next point. Actually, I mean, obviously, the R, as you said, both finished in the top four. Good signs going forward for the new R8. I mean, how much was taken from 99 into 2000? Because obviously there's a because there's like knowledge and components and things like that. Was there much of the R8R in the R8?
I would say probably the basis of the engine.
Right.
Not a lot more, really.
That's
not
it.
A lot more. No, I mean it was completely different in terms of aero, the gearbox, and everything. I mean, that the car, with the experience from not only 99 as well, but with the knowledge before, the car was really designed around being able to change the rear end,
right,
without losing a lap. Because obviously the understanding at the time already was, if you're a lap down, you're dead. So you need to be in the lead lap, whatever happens. And this is why the car was designed in a way that the rear end could be changed on the car without losing a lap.
Wow. I mean, okay, it's a long lap at Le Mans, but that's
3 minutes 30, but still that's a very fast gearbox change.
That's impressive.
So everything was prepared there. The brakes were bled and everything. You were just floor off, rear end off, rear end on, and off you went.
Wow, I love that. That's very impressive. Just quickly talking about like rear end of cars and things like that. 99. Now, a year ago this week, I had Peter Dumbreck on here for a chat, and we know what happened with him in 99 with Mercedes and the long rear end and the front end, all that kind of thing. When that kind of thing happens, when he flipped and ended up in the forest, when that kind of thing happens, do you, even if you know there's no real problem with your car just because of the shape or the design or the weight of it or whatever it might be, is there any concern from your part that you think, oh, actually, we need to just double check a few things because just in case that happens in dirty air with us?
No, I wouldn't say concerns, but obviously you were watching the situation carefully, and you are taking additional counter action to avoid a thing like that happening, and that basically meant that you wouldn't go over the crest at Mulsanne directly in the slipstream of another prototype type.
Sure.
You would run the car offset.
Okay.
Just to make sure that you are not in the dirty air.
Yeah.
As I said, you mentioned it. I mean, we never had a problem with that on our car, but obviously you don't want to either, and you see if it happens to the others. And obviously the basic concept of the cars was very, very similar. So you cannot say there's a guarantee that it doesn't happen to you. So you took countermeasure.
Yeah. Just to make extra sure, and it worked, of course. Just to get back to the R8, I mean, it set a new standard for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I think it won 5 of the first 6 of the new millennium, things like that. And we kind of said that you had Mr. Pirro, you were again working with, along with Alan McNish, Tom Christensen. I mean, these guys know what they're doing. I mean, what was it like working with those guys? Because they're also they're all a bit like Emanuele, aren't they? They're just very technical and they like to know what's what. I mean, did they ever make it difficult for you, or did they make it easy?
Yes, I mean, you said Emanuele is a very nice guy, and I do agree. I still try to go skiing with him every year, and I think as well next to Christmas we're gonna do that again. But in the American Le Mans series, I was engineering the Bila Piero car in 2000, and we were up against Alan McNish and Dindo Capello in the other car. And obviously there was BMW still involved as well, so there was a very good competition around with Panos as well. And still the major competition was within the team, and those guys, as you can imagine, are extremely competitive. And especially yeah, Alan and Dindo, they were almost always faster than us. And I remember one race, I don't remember where it was, his point, where Emanuele came to me and said, Dieter, there must be a problem. It's not possible that they're always faster than us. You must find what is wrong with the car. And obviously that was a difficult moment. Yes, it was a difficult moment.
That's great.
We didn't find anything, but yeah, we won a few races, but the championship went to the others.
Yeah, sure. I just love that. That's a typical driver thing to do. You know, it's not me. It must be the car. It must be.
Yes.
Yeah, bless him. Bless him. I do have to talk though about Le Mans in 2000. Obviously, you're racing all in the other Le Mans series as well, but 2000, it was incredible for Audi. I mean, a 1-2-3 at Le Mans. No one got within 20 laps of you. It was absolute domination from pretty much from start to finish. Obviously, there's very, very good guys at Audi, very good people doing an amazing job. I mean, did you see a 1-2-3 like that coming in such a difficult race for like many, many reasons? I mean, surely no one could have predicted that.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, for several reasons. At the time, like today, I mean, it's Le Mans chooses its winner. You always say that, and it's what it is. So you cannot go to Le Mans and think we're going to blow everybody away and win this race. It's just not happening. It's too complex, and there are too many, let's say, potential hiccups and problems which you could face. And effectively, in the 2000, we discovered a problem on the wishbones, on the uniballs, on the wishbones, and I remember there were wishbones flown out from Ingolstadt to Le Mans, landing on the airport in Le Mans.
Wow.
And basically, there was one of the employees who had a motorbike there, and he went with a motorbike to the airport, pick up the parts, and brought them in the paddock, because that was the only way with all the spectators to go backwards and in and out and get the parts there. And we fitted the parts before the race, and we went to race. So even before the race, already there was, as you can see, some excitement going on.
Yeah, I think that's a courier service we'd all love to have.
Yes,
that's incredible. And like I think, like, regardless of which car finished where in the top three, I mean, it must have been one almighty celebration. I mean, to do that at Le Mans, obviously I think those Jaguar had a 1-2-3 in the late 80s, but to do it by the distance that Audi did it, I mean, I think you all must have enjoyed yourself a little bit after that.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is another nice story with concerning Emanuele from that race, because I was engineering the car with Alan McNish, Stefan Ortelli, and Aiello, Laurent Aiello. That was the driving pair which had won the race in '98 on the Porsche GT1. And it was an interesting constellation at the time, because basically there was the three cars. One was engineered and mechanics by Audi. One was engineers and mechanics by Joest. And the third car was mechanics from Joest, engineers from Audi.
And
you can guess now who was engineering the third car. Yeah. So in the build-up already, that was quite complicated, because the Joest guys, they took the parts that they needed on their side. The Audi guys took the parts they needed on the other side, and we were always in the middle. And luckily, I had an extremely switched on and nicely linked number one mechanic from Joest, who basically made sure that we got our car built as well. But coming to the race, we were, I think, kind of the favorites. We were on pole. We were leading the race in the beginning until Ortelli spun in the fourth corners, and he touched with the rear the rail, so he bent a toe link.
Right.
That meant basically, other than the bodywork change, it meant a rear end change. And effectively, with all the work that we had to do on the car, we did go a lap down.
Right.
So we spent all the race catching up to the leading car, which was the Christensen Pirobila car. Spent all the race catching up. I had Alan do a quadruple stint in the morning, and he was really flying, catching up to the leading cars. And we come into the last hour, and we were back in the lead lap, still catching on the number 8. And then Dr. Ulrich said, "Okay, guys, we're going to line up now for a photo finish and have the car running in order over the line, because that is a huge possibility for Audi marketing, and we want to have a proper picture when the cars cross the line, 1, 2, 3. I mean, you've said it happened very rarely in the past, and we could achieve that. So now, guys, line up for a photo finish." And then Manuele come back on the radio, and he said, "Yeah, we can do that, but only if Alan drops a lap down again." So we had to drop a lap down again, and we went to have that photo finish.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. Love that little insight. I love that. That's great. But yeah, what a fantastic result though as well. Nice to. Yeah, I also quite like the dynamic across the 3 cars with who's engineering who and all that kind of thing, and it all worked out in the end, despite
absolutely, yes,
despite all the little problems during the race. I just want to roll on. We've been here for an hour already. My goodness. Something I want to touch on as well, though. You moved to the role of race engineer, which again is a different role, and it's something that you would end up holding in when you went into F1 and things like that. I mean, in my mind, race engineer versus your other role is basically in my mind, it's kind of you're on the pit wall, you're right in the thick of things, as opposed to maybe stepping a step back from before. I mean, what was the main difference for you becoming a race engineer?
Yeah, effectively, when you say that, I was the first years in Audi were super interesting, but super challenging as well, because basically I did a different job every year. Yeah, first I went from one country to the other. Then I became the race engineer on the front wheel drive car, then the project manager for the super touring car, the technical, then the coordinator and finally I ended up race engineering. And I said, "That's all right, guys. It's great. I'm getting a lot of experience here, but at one stage I would as well love to really use the experience that I make in the following years. It's going to make my life a little bit easier."
Sure.
That wasn't happening, obviously, because then I went to Toyota for F1. But the race engineering, at the end of the day, that was what I really wanted to, because this is where you are directly on the car, where you have a lot of influence on how the car is going to do, how the car is going to behave. It's not an easy task, but it's what I wanted to do. And telling you that it's not an easy car, I have another story in mind again, because my second last race with Audi, because I swapped to Toyota in April 2001. So I still did the first season, the races of the 2001 season with Audi, and one race was Sebring, and I was the race engineer there on the Bila and Christensen car. Tom joined us for that race. And basically, the 3 of them, they have reasonably different driving styles. Tom is the one who is probably able to handle a most oversteering car, while Frank cannot handle an oversteering car. He needs to have some understeer in the car. And Emanuele was like the neutral one in the middle. So we ended up in that race with Tom flying, Frank struggling, and Emanuele doing kind of okay. I mean, this was a huge learning effect for me, for what concerns setting up in a car for an endurance race for the 3 drivers. And we ended up basically fighting for the lead in the last hour with the other Audi at the end of the day. And at the last pit stop, Tom, who was flying all the race, he was overspeeding in the pit entry, and he had to serve a drive to penalty, and that cost us the victory of that race.
Goodness. I mean, again, that's something that us outside the ropes, we don't think about, because obviously each driver has their own way of driving and what they're good at and what they can struggle with, things like that. And to get all of that as close to being drivable for the 3 drivers who have got 3 different setups. That must be incredibly difficult. I mean, I can't, at some point, do you think, well, we're going to have to sacrifice someone in the middle of the race here just because of the setup or anything like that?
I think probably today one would do that, but at the time, I didn't maybe have the experience to do that. You might as well say the balls, maybe, but I prefer saying the experience at the time. I was running through my plan, giving the drivers a driving time that was planned before the race, and still the target was having Tom, who was the fastest in the race, on the car, having him at the very end of the race to finish the job, which would have been possible as well.
Yeah, I guess it's just kind of the way it had to be at the time, I suppose.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So just going on to, I mean, obviously things are going very well at Audi. Obviously, you won Le Mans and they won it again in 2001 and all that kind of thing. You moved to Toyota, which must have been a very difficult move. But was Formula One the kind of like the carrot that kind of just turned your head a bit, or I mean, how did the move to Toyota come about?
Yeah, I think for a young engineer in motorsport, everybody dreams about working in F1. And that was the same for me. And even though history proved me wrong, again, at the time I was saying I would love to go and work in F1, but not at every expense. And if the price to pay is going to work in the UK, I'm not going to do it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, as I said, history proved me wrong. I did eventually. But at the time, obviously, the Toyota program came up. Good for me that they were looking for people with no experience in F1. So this was, for me, a benefit, obviously. And I went to be the test engineer there in the 2001 season on Alan's car.
Which, I mean, obviously, it's a terrific opportunity, but sort of knowing the limited things that I know about, was it the TF101, the first F1 car? That must have been a challenging year because, again, just from what I've read about it, excuse me, it was kind of too heavy and there was issues with downforce, things like that. Was it a challenging year doing all the testing and everything for it? Because you went to, what was it, 11 of the Grand Prix circuits, I think you went to.
Massively.
Massively. That must have been a huge...
I think back to these times quite often, I have to say. And today, I don't know how we did it. Because at the end of the day, these were the times when an engine life was like 500 kilometers.
Right.
So during a test day, an engine went through. That means engine change every evening. And somebody had the brilliant idea to basically have the oil and the engine and gearbox in the same oil. And that was a complication. Then there was no major experience within the team on hydraulics at the time. And that was something that we really struggled with. So what happened, basically engine change, like at 1 a.m. or between 1 and 2 a.m., normally the car was ready for the fire up. Everybody to the workshop, look underneath the car if everything was tight or if there was some hydraulic fluid or oil dropping, and sometimes there was oil dropping or hydraulic fluid. So another engine change, and we had the next fire up then like at 5 or 6 a.m. Fire the car up, back to the hotel, shower, back to the track, next test day. That was the rhythm really, and we did a lot of testing as well in Paul Ricard. And I always say, like, a 3-day test with that program you could kind of survive. On a 4-day test, the 4th day you were simply dead. And as I said, I'm thinking about that quite a few times these days, because I notice and I understand, or understood only later, how lucky we were that nothing ever happened there. Right. Because, I mean, obviously the mechanics were doing the same hours as the engineers, and if you don't sleep for 3 days and you drive from the track in Port Ricard down to Bandol, because at the time you didn't have the hotel at the track, we were really lucky that never a van with mechanics ended up in the forest there in the south of France. So,
wow.
Yeah, if you think about that today, it was kind of irresponsible what we did at the time, but we did it, and we got away with it.
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah. I mean, obviously, that isn't a short journey either. From where you were, and
it's like 25 minutes, half an hour kind of thing.
Yeah, it's still, it isn't just round the corner, is it? It's and again, one of the behind the scenes things that us fans don't see. It's obviously very difficult year getting kind of ready for the 2002 season when the team entered F1. A certain Mr. McNish followed you around, and you had like
honestly, it was more me following him because he basically made the first contact to Toyota.
Yeah,
and effectively I followed him rather than he followed me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he's a good guy to follow. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, yes.
He's a good. So you had Alan, and you had like Mika Salo on here. Mika's one of my favorite people in the world. He again has been on for a chat on here. Working with those guys must have been, well, not always good, but it must have been positive working with those guys because they're both great racers and they both know what they're doing, don't they?
Yes. Yeah.
Now I did. Where were we? I mean, we talked about car setups on the endurance racing, 3 drivers, 1 car, things like that. Different dynamic with F1, of course. 2 drivers, 2 cars. Was there much of a difference in the setup of their cars compared, just with how they like to feel the car?
There were differences, yes, but I think at the end of the day, between the 2 cars, the difference was in the cockpit, because obviously Mika was hugely experienced, and Alan was new to F1.
Yeah.
So I was engineering Alan's car as well in the first season, not only during testing, but during the first season. And I think Mika made a lot with the experience that he had. Basically, he got in the car and drove it, while we were always trying to set the car up for Alan.
Right.
And there again, with the full benefit of hindsight, I would probably say we should have tried to have Alan more drive the car that he had more than making changes every run, because obviously we know as well, if a driver is used to a car, he can predict better what it's going to do, and I think it's easier for him to extract the potential out of the car.
Right. Okay.
And we never gave that possibility really or we hardly ever gave that possibility really to Alan, and we experienced all the ideas of our friend Gustav Brunner at the time, who basically invented on the rear suspension a system with the torsion bars and some blades basically fitted in the torsion bars, and these blades were basically like additional springs, and you could adjust them with bolts and studs when they started to engage. And we with my data engineer, we got crazy trying to set this thing up, because obviously it never happened in the right moment, because it was a stiffness step change basically when this blade came in. So no progression really in the stiffness, and we got crazy trying to set that thing up until eventually we gave up on it.
No, I got you. Yeah. Just on the results of the guys. I mean, there was a few there was a few retirements, which obviously must be very frustrating. But remember, like the first sort of start of the year, I think after like Mika, I think Mika got into the top 6 a couple of times, and there was a lot of like top 10 finishes. It was all going rather well, but then it kind of just the results dropped off a little bit towards the end of the year. Was that just through not being able to develop as much as you would have liked, or was there another kind of issue?
Yeah, a few things to that actually, because the first race Mika finished 6th, and that was a race in Australia where there was a crash in the first corner where Alan retired, and Mika again the rear track rod got me again. That got damaged in that crash. So Mika came into the pits and we changed the rear track rod on the car.
Okay.
And he still made it into the point. So that was a really good performance.
Wow.
And he really even should have finished fifth, because he was behind the Minardi of, I don't remember, maybe Mark Webber at the time. I'm not sure.
May have been, well, yeah.
And he was clearly quicker, and he should have overtaken him. But I think he spun in the last lap, so he only finished sixth instead of fifth. And then the second race, where we went to Malaysia, and that was the race where Alan really should have scored points.
Yes,
and he was running a position to finish sixth. And the problem there was that the Alan stop lap for the tire change, Mika came into the pits without telling us. Team didn't. Team was focused on knowing Alan would be coming in, focused on Alan's car, focused on the pit stop. Stopped Mika, changed the tires, put Alan's tires on Mika's car, and when Alan came in, we were without tires. This is how he lost. He lost the point that he really should have won.
Oh, that's frustrating.
It was frustrating, yes.
Incredibly frustrating. Not least for Alan, of course.
Yeah, and then afterwards, as you say, I think that was mainly because the team was new, and there was not really the process in place on how to develop a car throughout the season and make it go faster. And I think that is the reason why initially we were trailing off a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Which is, I guess, understandable in a first season for a team.
Having said that, Monza was another race where effectively Alan should have scored points because we were quite fast there. Because the V10 in the Toyota, that was really a very strong engine, so the package with the engine was quite good at the time. But in that race, he had a problem with the camber shims coming out on the top of the upright, and he had to retire. And that was another race where really points finish would have absolutely been possible.
Yeah, it's just these little things, isn't it? These very small tolerances in or in any racing that have a big impact on things. And this is why it annoys me that people just look at results as a way of gauging how a team or a driver has done, because they never tell the whole story. And it's there's so many near misses, aren't there?
Yeah, and definitely Alan deserved better in Formula One than this only year.
Yeah, for sure. He's always one of those hugely underrated when it comes to F1. I think he was very, very strong. Just want to skip forward into 03 in the TF103. Another sort of upgrades and changes to the car. Two new drivers as well, with Olivia Panis and Cristiano D'Amata. Is it tricky with a changed car, two new drivers? Is it not quite starting from zero, but there must be a lot of catching up to do, I guess, when you get two new drivers in with how things get set up and how things operate.
Especially for a young team, which we were at the time. Yeah, that was a big change. I would have loved to keep at least one of the two drivers, but we had to deal with two new drivers, and that somehow made it the beginning of the season especially quite complicated. And with Cristiano D'Amata in the car, obviously, I mean, he was coming from Indy with huge success, and everybody thought he would be the new thing. So the results were quite disappointing at the end of the day. Expectations were high, and that ended up to become very complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I did see though, between the guys, they got 7 points finishes, which for two new drivers, new team, pretty good. Encouraging. Just into 04 though, just from the results point of view, it looked like it was a bit of a struggle, I guess. What were the main issues in 04?
Difficult to say what the main issues were. To be honest, it was just a year of development, and we had then. I think there was probably a lack of consistency already at that time. We had Mike Gascoigne coming in,
yes,
which was a very important step for the team. And basically, I remember very well when Mike started, he was always with the race team and looking at us and checking. And after like half a season or 3/4 of the season, I remember talking to him basically, and he was employed basically with a mission to sort out the race team, because the belief in the top management at the time was that the car was very good. It's just the race team not getting the results. So Mike started really on my backside all the time. And I said, after a few months, he came to me and I said, Dieter, I don't know what's wrong here. And the race team is good, actually. The car is shit. And this is basically how I got a very good relationship with Mike, because from then onwards we had a perfect cooperation over many years.
Which is it's great. It's that kind of like that kind of realization that everything is in place except for the car, perhaps. Which I was, and I think on the back of 04, I think a lot of people were thinking, oh, maybe like Toyota perhaps could do better. Maybe what's happening with Toyota? They're it's a big name, Formula One. They've got some good drivers. 2005, it happened. Did within the team in the off season? Obviously, there were changes made to the car, new car upgrade, things like that. Did you see 2005 coming? Because it was such a change. Obviously you had like Jarno Trulli, who, if you don't love Jarno Trulli, there's something wrong with you. I think he's great. With Ralf Schumacher as well. Again, two good drivers. Did you see the year that transpired? Did you see it coming in pre-season?
No, you didn't. I mean, I think at the end of the day that were the fruits of Mike coming in and developing that car basically from the beginning. Jarno came in the end of 2004. He did the last race or the last two races basically, and if I remember correctly, these were the times when the qualifying was run in the different order of the previous race result or something like that. And Jarno, being a new driver, he started last and he put the car, I think he put it on pole, or at least I think it was maybe two qualifying sessions, and in the one session he was fastest straight away.
He was quickest, yeah.
So that was a really good sign. But basically, I mean, it was a completely new car, completely different car, which was developed under Mike, and it started performing in 2005.
Yeah, and boy, did it ever. I did read that somewhere when I was doing my research. I think was it in Barcelona you were on your own, so to speak.
Yes. It's interesting that you know that, but it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just doing some digging and research, and just for some juicy bits of information, and that one came out. I mean, that must have been quite. I don't want to use the word daunting or stressful, because you don't come across as a guy who feels that kind of thing. But it must have been quite a big thing for you, being it, with it just being you rather than you and Mike.
Yeah, it was honestly, and the race folded out to be quite a complicated one.
Yes.
We were performing very well, and we had Ralf running P3 and Jarno running P4, and we come to the first round of pit stops, and there was a problem with Jarno's car on the pit stop, and basically it took fire at the end of the refueling. Fire went off when he left the pits, but we didn't know why. We didn't know what had happened. So basically, to ensure that Ralf got a proper pit stop, we stopped him first for the second stop. And this is basically how Jarno, who had then a clean pit stop for whatever reason, he overcut at that time. He overcut Ralf, and Ralf lost his podium, and he was not really amused with that. He came to the pits and he was shouting at me. But in all fairness, when I explained what had happened and why we did it, that was the end of the story immediately. He calmed
Right.
down. He understood. He respected the decision, and he never ever had a word on that again. And that was really as well like one element of a very good confidence between ourselves and the corporation.
Which is great, and it just shows that straight after a race, when emotions are running high, I mean, you can understand why he would be, because he wants
Absolutely.
a podium, and anyone would be able to understand that, of course. But again, you kind of come across as a guy who's not going to shout back at an angry Ralph. You're just going to say, "Look, this is how it was," calm and explain, and that's. I'm sure he appreciated that, and that's why he accepted how it was, because of the way you dealt with it. And I'm not sure how I'd deal with an angry Schumacher shouting at me, I must admit. But,
no, it was not comfortable, but as I said, it didn't last very long.
Good, that's good. And obviously, no harm, no foul in the end. I just looking through the results and everything. What I want to touch on though is when like Jarno took second in Malaysia and Brazil, both behind Fernando. Obviously, the team's best results, two terrific second places. Is there a temptation to get greedy and think, "Oh, we could have won," even though you've made a huge leap forward from, say, a year before? There must always be that thought of, "Oh, maybe we could have taken the win there."
Not really so much. I think because if you do your race, you have a good qualifying, you have a good race, you're not making mistakes, and you finish second in a fair and square competition. It's what it is. And we were, rather than being disappointed not winning, we were super pleased with the second place, because obviously that was something. I mean, it was something new to us and something very, very special.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with like Jarno being so popular with the fans as well, I mean, everyone loved it. Everyone seeing him up there and enjoying himself.
Yeah.
He was a great driver. And I'd seen, what was it? He took third in Spain. He was in the top 6 4 more times. Ralph had 9 top 6 finishes. He took podiums in China and Hungary. I mean, everything just seemed to be coming together really nicely that year. Just with regards to the car and the drivers and the team and everything. It must have been great to be a part of that year.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And I think if you look at Ralph and Jarno, they're so different characters and so different races as well. And I always said at the time, if you took the qualifying from Jarno and the racecraft from Ralph, you really had a potential world champion, because Jarno in the qualifying on the new tire, he really always got everything out of the car. And we saw it later on through the years as well. I mean, maybe we're going to get to the Truly train later on. But that was because he was qualifying so well every single race. And Ralph was a driver, you put him in the race car, whatever the car was, he drove it to the maximum. And he got a very good performance in the race. He was not that strong. I mean, he was good in qualifying, but not that strong as Jarno was. And Jarno, he had his strength when the car was perfect. And obviously on a new tire, it was always perfect. In the race, and that Malaysia race that you mentioned is a classic case. Malaysia, the car was stable, balanced, the tires kept up with it, and he was happy with the car all race long. And he raced at the level where he qualifies normally. When he had something going off during the race, Jarno was struggling a bit more, and these things didn't happen with Ralph. He simply went through it and pushed from beginning to the end in the race.
Wow, fantastic! Just quickly on Ralph. Obviously, there's going to be the obvious sort of shadow of his brother. Michael being absolutely brilliant, and I think it's nice to hear such positivity about Ralph from someone who was there, saw him, race in, race out, testing, qualifying, everything. Because I think a lot of people historically just think, "Oh, well, Ralph wasn't as good as Michael," but well, who was? And it was just a real shame for Ralph that he's not given the credit I think he probably deserves. Because there's that comparison with Michael, and there shouldn't be, should there? Because he was on by his own right, he was a terrific racer, wasn't he?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he did have success with the Williams and everything. So absolutely, yes, very strong driver.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Mick is now struggling with the same thing, obviously being Michael's son and everything. But yeah, great to see him going out to IndyCar as well this year, which is
man. And this is what I always say. I mean, I've seen Mick growing through the different championship, Formula 2, Formula 3. And they were with the Formula 3, they were a lot of times in parallel to the DTM. So I really observed his development. And for me, again, he's somebody who didn't get the chance in F1 that he would have deserved, because he is a driver.
I think Haas got rid of him far too soon.
Really, the same thing Formula 3 as Formula 2. He came into the championship, first season, okay, so some result, nothing special. Second season, first few races like the first season. Then he started winning. Once he started winning, never went back. Yeah? Once he achieves a level that there is no way back. He's always there. And the same again got repeated in F2. And I don't see any reason why that shouldn't have worked in F1. I mean, obviously, to go and win all the time in F1, that's a different story.
Sure.
But I think he could have really had a very, very good career in F1.
Yeah, for sure. I thought he might be under consideration for Cadillac F1 this year, but obviously not. But maybe in future, we'll see. Just very quick, one thing I do want to touch on, though, while we're talking about 2004, because I'm going to skip on a little bit. Indianapolis, 2004. Five, sorry. 2005. What a mess. It wasn't a good look, was it? I mean, given that F1 was trying to break into America in 2005 and all that tire nonsense. Obviously, Ralph had a crash, didn't he? And he hurt himself in turn. Well,
yeah, he
had four, turn one, whatever you want to, or the last corner, and then the tire issues and everything else. It was just bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had a repeat of a crash that he had before. I don't know if it was a year before or 2 years before with the Williams, where he got hurt. When he had the crash with the Toyota, he did not get hurt. He could carry on effectively.
Okay.
But the problem was that these tire failures, they started in Toyota, because at the time we were able to run 3 cars in the free practice session on the Friday, and Ricardo Zonta had another failure on the infield.
Yes.
And this is where all the discussion started, because obviously, the paddock in F1 is very, very quick. So immediately rumors were coming up. We weren't respecting the camber limits. We were running low pressure and whatever, which was not the case. So until Michelin basically got the tires back and they examined the tires from all the teams and had to find out that basically that same problem was on all the Michelin tires. And something had to be done about it. And this was a moment when we got basically released from that suspect.
Right. Okay. Right.
But it was a hugely character building, I would tend to say, weekend. Obviously, you can imagine there were all the meetings with all the big gunners of F1 at the time, and you saw during these meetings with Michelin who the real racers are. And I would like to name Ron Dennis and Martin Wittmarsh. I mean, they were coming up with any idea possible on how to eventually have a race on that weekend. I mean, it was flying different tires out, building up a chicane. I mean, that all these proposals were on the table and effectively didn't come true for different reasons, mainly because it wasn't respecting the regulation at the time.
Sure.
And Bridgestone obviously was not too keen on allowing things like that.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
That went on through the weekend. But at that time, basically, the team principal, John Howard, he said very early through the weekend, he said, Dieter, we're not going to have a race here. It's simply not happening. Just make sure you put the car on pole, and then we see. And effectively, that's what happened. That these were the times when you were qualifying with the race start fuel and things like that. So we were standing on the pole, and we knew that the agreement was that after the formation lap, all the cars would pull in.
Yeah.
But obviously, we knew that the agreement was like that. But we knew as well F1, and we know the characters that are around and the desire to race.
Yeah.
So we weren't really sure if every Michelin runner would respect that.
Is it going to happen?
And if you're the first car to pull into the pits and everybody stays on the track, you do look a bit stupid.
Yeah, sure.
Luckily for us, that did not happen, and we had that unfortunate race with the 6 cars.
Yeah.
But getting out of the track, that was another experience, because the fans, rightly so, were obviously very, very upset.
Yes.
And they were threatening the cars going up. There were some few stones thrown and things like that driving out of the paddock. Yeah, it was not a very comfortable situation.
Wow. I didn't know that. And obviously none of the teams wanted, that to happen. None of you wanted to do it, but you kind of had to. And it feels a bit harsh that that it was all being taken out on you guys, but I guess it was bound to happen. But not a good look. And it's only really 20 years later that F1 is now like recovering in the eyes of the US audience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very damaging. One of those things. 06 and 07, the very kind of similar kind of seasons. There was lots of promising results and some good running and stuff, but just too many retirements, I guess, over those 2 years. That must have been incredibly frustrating when that kind of thing happens.
Yes, it was. And basically, it was 06 especially was the year of big changes, because that was the moment when the V8 engine was introduced. And I already mentioned early on the V10, the Toyota V10, that was really a great engine.
Yeah.
In 06, basically, we went to the V8. We changed from Michelin to Bridgestone. So that made our life really super complicated, because the performance wasn't there as we would have expected it to be. I mean, it was nowhere near to 2005 in the beginning. And we didn't really understand why. Is it the engine? Is it tires? Obviously, we had a lot to learn on the tires at the very beginning, but we didn't really understand where the problem was coming from. And then that was the season where everybody developed the inerters. That was the second thing after the Renault mass damper, which was banned. I think in 05 probably. 4 or 5, and then the inerters were developed, and I remember Brazil, the bumpy track in Sao Paulo. The inerters were working very well. The car was fast until the inerters broke, and we retired because of that. So yes, a year full of changes and problems, and at the end of the day, I think with hindsight, looking at it, I think I understood that only properly when I was in Lotus and with the Cosworth engine and the Renault engine in the second year, that the V8 engine was nowhere as good as the V10. And I think the big problem at the time was that Toyota targeted to be the first one on track with the V8 in testing, to work on reliability, and all the others, they were later. And then the likes of, let's say, BMW, for example, the engine was theoretically frozen. You could only work on reliability, and the Japanese approach, very fair and square and straight, not thinking in the back door. They were really focusing only on reliability, while others managed to develop performance. And like that, obviously, that didn't improve the situation of the V8 at all.
Sure. Yeah, just differences in approach and opinions and things like that. Just want to skip on to 2008 quickly. It was like another really good year. Also like Jarno, and you had like Timo Glock as well. Again, another hugely underrated driver, Mr. Glock. He's done lots of great things. Just lots of top 6, top 8 running. I think Jarno took 3rd in France. Who were consistently pressuring the leaders, things like that. It was like almost like a nearly year, I thought, 08, because obviously Ferrari and McLaren were strong, but I thought you guys were kind of like the standout team from the rest. It was a strong year, wasn't it?
It was a very strong year, yes, especially at the end, and the second place of Timo in Hungary was the absolute highlight that year. And if I remember correctly, we qualified quite far down the order, like 16 or something.
Yeah,
we managed to go to P2, and I was talking to my at the time he was Timo's race engineer, but he was my data engineer when I started at Toyota. So I was working with him for quite a long time. I saw him at Audi again. Today he's the chief engineer at Haas. And he claimed, when I was talking to him lately, he claimed that basically that was the race that we probably could have won in the Toyota times, because the car was really fast. We weren't good in qualifying. But from a normal grid position, normally that was a race where a victory would not have been impossible.
No, for sure. And actually, earlier this year, me and a couple of friends, it was when the Hungarian Grand Prix was on, and we were talking about the fact that we love Hungary because hasn't changed very much as a circuit. It's always a good Grand Prix. It's really underrated. We were talking about our favourite drives from Hungary, and I said about Piquet's overtake on Senna in '86, I think it was, and then Nigel winning in '89, and Damon Hill coming close in '97, and etc., etc. And I threw that drive by Jarno into the mix, and one of my mates just said, "Oh, I don't remember that," and then the other one went, "Oh, actually, that was a hell of a drive," and it really was. And I mean, yeah, loads of people would have loved to have seen Jarno win that race, and
Timo.
Sorry,
Timo,
to see Timo win it, because
I mean, he was super strong. Had some very good races with Toyota there, really.
Yeah, really terrific. Just on Timo, we have to talk about this as Brits, and with what's going on with Felipe Massa and everything that's going on at the moment. And I don't want to dwell on it because people, honestly, there's the conspiracy theorists around McLaren at the moment, and Lando and Oscar and all this other nonsense. And there's always the conspiracy theorists. Timo Glock let Hamilton past on purpose. It was cheating. It was this. It rained. That's what happened, isn't it? I mean, was there a temptation to bring Timo in to change tyres, or did you think you could get to the end? Or because there was so much going on, wasn't it? With chasing Seb and Massa winning, and you guys were right in the middle of it.
Let's say I need to go back now to 2005, because one of the other races where the performance was really good and where we potentially could have won was Spa 2005. The problem was in Spa 2005, it was a wet start, and basically in a few words, we got the tire choices wrong. We were going too early on dry tires, and like that lost the possibility to fight for the victory in Spa. But that was something which was really disappointing, and from there onwards we were working a lot to get a better understanding on when is the moment really to switch tires from wet to dry. And basically we came up with a system, and we came up as well with, let's say, better quality of weather forecast and understanding of weather, and I think from then onwards I would tend to say we were always on the right tire in the right moment. Early to switch to drier tires if you could, and not throwing wet tires on the car before it was effectively starting to rain, as other people did. Like I remember Ferrari in Malaysia 2006, where with wet tires when it wasn't raining. And Sao Paulo was one of these situations. It wasn't really clear, and it wasn't really wet enough to put wet tires on the car. So we continued running on dry tires, and obviously due to that, with the one pit stop less, we moved up the order. But the last lap, or let's say the last 2 laps of the race, the rain was getting stronger, and really we would have thought about pitting. And I remember we were down the end of the pit lane, and I was looking at the pit entry, and the pit entry was already crowded with people. So even if we would have wanted to stop for wets in the last lap, we couldn't have.
Right.
And I mean, if you look at the lap time that Timo did in the last lap, had we stopped for wet tires in that moment, we would have probably stayed in front of Hamilton. But I mean, we couldn't, even if we wanted to. We didn't really have the discussion. It was not the situation where we said, now we're going to stop, and I looked down the pit lane. We didn't. We still had the discussion. And it effectively never got to a point where we effectively said we will stop now.
Right.
But the poor Timo, I mean, he had no chance really.
Yeah.
That lap was just too wet already for the dry tires, and he really couldn't resist Hamilton at that moment.
Yeah.
Having said that, we did the same thing with both cars, and if you look at the result sheet, I'm quite convinced that one of the two cars ended up in the race in the same position where he was before.
Yes.
And the other car picked up one position.
Yeah.
So even with this very bad last lap, we did the right thing.
Yeah.
Everybody should have stayed on the dry tires at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Hamilton just got back in the position where he was running before that anyways. He would have never been behind us if he had stopped like everybody else.
Yeah, true. See, now I want to cut this bit of the interview and post it all over the internet, just to shut some people up, because it's absolutely right. And I actually felt, I mean, obviously when Lewis won, I must admit I was jumping around my living room because support the English guys, but I did feel sorry for Timo because I mean he hung on those tires.
Yeah.
As quickly as as long as he could, and it was just that last left-hander before the blast, and that was the only thing. I thought he did a really good job on it, and I can understand why Mr. Massa is upset, especially, and he's looked at various different things throughout the season, Crashgate and all that kind of a thing. But people are pointing fingers at Timo or pointing fingers at various different things for how the championship was decided. But you said it, if Lewis had done what everyone else had done, he'd have been ahead anyway, and all that kind of stuff, which people forget, don't they?
Absolutely. And that, by the way, was another race where it was difficult to get out of the paddock. Because, as we all know, Massa is Brazilian, the race was in Brazil. And the Brazilian fans were super upset because everybody thought we did that on purpose. So I don't know if you know the pit building in Sao Paulo. Basically, you behind the pits you have the garage floor with the paddock club and everything, and the people really can get down into the paddock, and the people were really shouting at us, and we were super concerned at the time to a level that we all bought ourselves a Brazilian football jersey to get out of the paddock instead of wearing team gear.
Wow, it was that bad?
Yes.
Goodness me. And the thing that gets me with the whole thing about saying that you did it on purpose, I always come back to why. What would you have gained out of it? I mean, why would you? I mean, if you're going to do something on purpose, make sure the home guy wins, the guy at home. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? But people love a conspiracy theory. But yeah, I am going to cut this section of the internet and just post it everywhere and say, look, this is what happened. Yeah. No, obviously, so thank you for talking about that. Just quickly before, because we still so much to get through, I'm going to speed things up a little bit. But 2009 was a similar season, some highs and lows and everything else like that. What have I got here? There were podiums in Australia, Malaysia, Bahrain, Singapore, Japan.
Yeah,
it was all going in the right direction. It all seemed to be just sort of moving along nicely. Did you know what was coming at the end of the season?
No, I did not at all. Ralph claimed that he knew, but I didn't, and I don't know if anybody really did. But 2009 was another really special year at the end of the day, because that was when the inerters were gone and everything. But the new thing was the double diffuser, the blown diffuser. No, the double diffuser.
Yes.
And we were one of the three teams having that, together with Williams and Braun. Right. So we came to the first races and we were super competitive. And another small story on that, basically, I come to Melbourne in the paddock, and my number one mechanic, he came to me and he said, "What have you done to the car?" I said, "What have you done to the cars?" Nothing. I mean, have a look at the rear wing. So he showed me the rear wing actually, and the flap of the rear wing was flexible towards the forward direction. That means when the
Okay.
car got at a certain pace, the flap bent forward, and it reduced the drag.
Right.
And this was something which ended up the car. I mean, I was a chief engineer and I knew nothing about it. So I went to Pascal Vasselon and asked him, "Pascal, what is that? I mean, this is clearly illegal." And Pascal replied, "Oh, don't worry. I mean, this is one of these things. When Joao Bauer is going to see that, he's going to say, yeah, but next, this is not okay. For this race, it's good, but the next race, you're going to show up with something if he sees it." But nobody believed that he would see it.
Right.
Obviously, we got qualifying, and I think we were right up there with the bronze in the mix. Scrutineering post qualifying, obviously, it came out. And Joe Bauer did not say it's okay for this race, just fix it for next race. He said, "Guys, this is not on," and disqualified us from the qualifying. We had to start from the pit lane, and we ended up P3 and 4.
Wow.
Yes, this is how strong the car was in the very first race, or in the first races when we had the double diffuser and others didn't.
Wow. That's crazy. I don't even remember you guys starting from the pit lane and doing that, doing the pace.
I remember.
Well, yes, it's
yeah, because that, I mean, obviously it was super painful because the team or most of the people in the team said we shouldn't do that, and somebody decided differently.
I see, but it did show that the pace was there in the car, and and with the drive and everything that came through, and again another really strong year. Just to sort of get to the painful bit at the end, I suppose. I mean, I think everyone was surprised when Toyota pulled out of F1 at the end of the season because of the progress that was being made and the pace in the car and everything that had gone on,
and the massive hopes on the car for the following year.
Yeah, it was looking at going to 2010, wasn't it? I mean, when did you? Because I remember it being very sudden. It kind of when saying, "Oh, that's it, Toyota out of F1." They've kind of pulled the plug on it, and everyone just thought, "What? What? Where's that come from?" Type thing. I mean, was it as sudden as that, or like similarly sudden as that for you guys?
It was. For us, it was. I think, if I remember that correctly, it was straight after the last race in Abu Dhabi. And either it was straight before or straight after, but I think I was on the grid in Abu Dhabi and didn't know about it. For sure, when we went to Singapore in September, that was a race when basically Mike Gascoigne, who was the chief technical officer for Lotus, was in the paddock trying to recruit people for Lotus, and everybody said, "Yeah, but we're with Toyota, and it's all nice, and we're not going to go for a new team." And so, what does he want? Kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, everybody was calling Mike, including myself.
Wow! I mean, I just find it amazing that it was that sudden. Like a brand as big as Toyota, the biggest car brand in the world, or certainly one of them. In F1, it's all going well, and all of a sudden, that's it. It must have been a huge shock.
And then there was obviously, and it was very sudden, and a major reduction had to happen at the time, and that was obviously one of the conversations. And don't get me wrong, if I mention Pascal and things like that, I got along very well with him over the time. We are born on the very same day, so we call each other every year at our birthday. And we got along very well, but obviously, you know how it is, and you always have discussions and things over many years. And the end for me at Toyota basically was when Pascal called me into his office and said, "Dieter, we have to reduce people now since we stop F1, and there's no space in the future for two people like you and me, and I'm going to stay here."
Right.
Period.
That's kind of one way to put it, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes, that was clear.
Wow, crikey! I mean,
Yep.
so I mean, obviously, you obviously wanted to stay in F1, if you possibly could, and you said Mike was like running around with like Lotus. I guess once you found out what the situation was with Toyota, you just put the call in, and
Exactly.
and I guess Mike just said yes quite easily, did he?
Well, that was another funny one, because I called him basically, and he asked then, yeah, but what do you want to do? And I said, I'd be happy to be chief engineer the way as I have been in Toyota. That'd be great. And he replied, well, I have bad news for you, because I already have a chief engineer. And I thought, oh bugger, that's a problem now.
That's not ideal, yeah.
And he then said, but I need somebody to take on the technical director role. And basically, this is how I then became the deputy technical director, with him being the chief technical officer. And at the very beginning, over the whole.
Oh, 1 second. We had a little 1 second, folks. We've had a little drop out there, but we are back. There we are.
Yeah. So yeah, I was very respectful, because I mean, I had never done anything like that. I mean, I have been chief engineer in Toyota from 2004 to 2009, but I had a lot of respect for that role as a technical director, deputy technical director, even with him being there as chief technical officer and controlling the whole thing. But basically, yeah, I had a lot of respect. And then once I started, he said, yeah, the team manager that we're having, I don't think he's the right guy to deal with FIA relationships and deal with the drivers. Would you mind taking on the sporting director role as well? And yeah, and I said, well, okay, yeah, why not? I mean, you get questions sometimes where you don't say no, and that was one of the questions. And this is how I ended up being the deputy technical director at Lotus and the sporting director, and probably one of the very few guys, maybe in history even, who did technical and sporting working group for a team.
Wow. And doing it in F1 as well.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in London, Sofitel Terminal 5, doing the working groups. And
I know it well.
Yeah.
Goodness me. I mean, that's quite an undertaking. I mean, and obviously the name Lotus, obviously they've gone from Caterham to Lotus. I think anyone who loves motorsport has a soft spot for Lotus just because of the history and the name and everything. And it must have been a great, a great company to go into. Obviously you had like Jarno went with you. You had Heikki Kovalainen there. Again, hugely underrated driver who deserved more time in F1, I think. The car, though, didn't quite seem up to speed all year. I mean, if you just look at the results, it just wasn't quite on it, was it, that year?
Yeah, I mean, we were one of the three new teams. Basically, at the time when there was the first time a discussion for a budget cap. And basically, I think the three new teams, they were adhering to that proposed budget cap, 55 million. I don't remember if it was euro or pounds at the time. That was the budget that we were working to, but everybody else, apart from the experience that everybody had, did not have that restriction in that way. So we were a new team. The car was developed basically by a team in Cologne, which were people that Mike engaged, who were basically designing that first car, because you need to know there was nothing. I mean, I started in January 2010. And I spent the first 6 months basically doing interviews, employing people for the design office.
Right.
When there was nobody. Yeah. And the 2011 car, that was effectively the first car that we designed ourselves with Lotus personnel.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So the 2010 year, the only opposition that we were looking at was Marussia, I think that's what they were called at the time, and Virgin. And I don't know if you know of the bet between Tony Fernandez and Sir Richard Branson.
I don't, but I'm intrigued because I know Tony Fernandez. He was involved with the Queen's Park Rangers football club
as well. Yes,
I remember that.
That's another thing.
I'm going to assume that a bet between Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Branson wasn't for a €10 note. I'm going to assume it was a.
No, actually, it was not for money.
Okay.
And if you see the history of the two of them on the two different ends of the world, was somewhat similar. Yeah, they both were involved in the music business. They had their own airline, and
Yeah.
I think Tony was looking a lot at Richard Branson at the time. So what happened? They both got into F1 with their own team, and they made the bet that whoever finished behind the other one in the World Championship had to go on the other one's airline and serve the other one as a hostess.
That's fantastic.
So they went on an Air Asia plane. Richard Branson serving Tony Fernandez on the flight. Unfortunately, when he served the tray, he tripped over and everything ended up on Tony's lap.
Which I'm sure was an accident.
Absolutely sure.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. I wasn't aware of that. That's great.
But what you were mentioning before, Queen's Park Rangers. I mean, I think Tony, he had some really fantastic ideas about what to do with Lotus and how to develop as well the brand, because he was looking and taking over as well the car brand. Unlucky that at the same time you had Danny Beja around at Lotus Cars, who had other ideas and put his sponsoring money everywhere. I mean, that was not a technical partnership that we saw everywhere. That was just money which was flowing to the Black Lotus. We were the Green Lotus. And that avoided that Tony could basically live his dream and take over Lotus Cars and bring Lotus Car back to where they were, but building light, affordable, let's say, sporty cars. That was his dream, which unfortunately he couldn't fulfill. And then he tried it with Caterham and didn't manage there. But for me, the Queen's Park Ranger thing at the end of the day, that was kind of a key date for me, because that money was sponsoring money, which we thought was supposed to come into the F1 team, and he used it to buy QPR. And that was the moment where I saw, okay, that is not a program which is Syrians designed to be successful in F1. Obviously, it's not really a target to fight for the last place. You want to move up, as we had ambition with Toyota. I would have had the same ambition with Lotus. That I didn't see that possibility happening, and this was one of the reasons as well why I moved away from Lotus after the second year.
I didn't realize that. I didn't. Yeah, yeah, that would definitely maybe start making you think about looking elsewhere. Obviously, unfortunately, not in Formula One. I mean, 2 hours. My goodness. Flying by, isn't it?
And we're 2011.
I know we're 2011. I'm just going to speed things through a bit. I don't mean to skip over things, but goodness me. Plus, I know you've got to be up in only a handful of hours to go traveling again. But
yeah.
Obviously, on the fallout of that, you rejoined Audi. I mean, you were there for many years. I mean, head of racing on the LMP1 and the DTM program. Nice to go back to Audi.
Yeah, it was good. And another, I mean, life is full of stories, and that's another one basically, or two really. The one is when I went to Lotus. The family stayed in Cologne, and I was commuting every weekend when we didn't have a race, just to understand on what it is, if I would be happy there to move on, or if it would be a short-lived experience. And by middle of the year, we decided, okay, that's something where one could as well stay. So we looked for a house. My wife came over, and effectively we moved in the summer break in August. And in the beginning of September, I got that phone call from Dr. Ulrich, who was asking me basically if I wanted to come back to Audi and basically take over from him when he went into retirement.
Right.
So, and I said, yeah, that's interesting. And my wife basically, she looked at me and said, I'm not even going to unpack the boxes here, because that's not going to last very long. Yeah. So still, that took a while, and we stayed for 1 year living in the UK. In August 2011, we moved back in the anticipation of moving to Audi. We agreed in April on May on me moving. I signed my contract, but I said always there's no way I'm going to let the team down during the season, even if the notice period would allow that. You just don't do that. I'm going to finish that season, and I'm going to make the move for the beginning of 2012. And we had. I think it was John Eiley coming in as a technical director then, definitively, and I was stepping back from that role, just doing the sporting director for the end of the season, and I basically did that from Germany, going back to commuting, but mainly doing the rest of the races.
Okay, right. And
then I started. That's the second story. I started in Audi. January 2012,
yes.
New WEC Championship, Audi and Peugeot. And before the first race, Peugeot pulled the plug. Yeah, the guys were going to Sebring for testing, and Peugeot pulled the plug. And all of a sudden, we had the brand new WEC Championship with only one manufacturer, which was Audi. The perspective of Toyota coming in, and luckily those guys, they stepped in for Peugeot. And they made it to the start of the first race with one car, which was nowhere near to the development plan that Toyota had in front of themselves. But just to save the championship, they stepped in, and really a lot of respect for what they did at the time.
Yeah, because I mean, they obviously knew they weren't going to be competitive or anything like that. It was just done for like the wider picture, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, which is a great thing, for them
Absolutely.
to do. It's kind of good marketing in a way, isn't it? Just to say, look what we've done. We've kind of.
Yes, you could have done, but I don't think they did it. I mean, they just probably did it for the sake of racing, for the sake of the championship.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't ever going to lose out from doing it. They obviously wanted to save the series and go racing and do that, and it was a good look for them. As almost as an afterthought, wasn't it? I guess it would have been a good look for them. I mean, obviously you were made head of motorsport at Audi, overseeing everything, all that kind of a thing. One of the things that you were part of was taking it into the brand into Formula E, which we're going through a big sort of growth through the mid 2010s, and it still gets a lot of opposition from true race fans who like big, loud, noisy engines. And what was the thinking behind going into Formula E? Obviously, there was a big global push for green racing, green renewable, that kind of a thing. Was that part of it?
Yes, it was part of it, obviously, because that was a major hype really everywhere. And basically, I remember very well when that came up with the Formula E. I was talking to Wolfgang Ulrich, because I mean, from the beginning we had a very close relationship even before I took over from him, and we were talking about a lot of things. And he was asking me, what do you think about that Formula E thing? And I said, I can only see two ways how that goes. Or they don't even make it to the first race and the whole thing implodes before they even get going. And I thought, I don't think we were too far away from that. or the thing is going to go through the roof and it's going to become super popular.
It's going to fly, yeah.
So now we know that none of these two things effectively happened.
It's somewhere.
But still, that was enough basically to say it's worth having a close look from the very beginning. And that drove us to decide that we would basically supply our driver, Lucas Di Grassi, who was our Le Mans driver at the time, to Abt to field in the Formula E from the beginning. So that was the first cooperation, the first support that we delivered to Abt when they started, and how the relationship built on from then onwards until we took over.
Okay, right. Just a quick word on Lucas Di Grassi. I've like connected with him across various social media and LinkedIn and stuff. He is one of the most intelligent men I have ever come across. He's such a clever guy, isn't he? And he understands everything that goes. He understands everything behind the scenes that goes into racing and the business side and the renewables and all that kind of stuff. He's an amazing guy, isn't he?
Yes, he is, absolutely. I'm not sure if that is always helping him in racing, but it definitely is. Yeah, I mean he's I would say he's an interesting guy to work with, because he's somebody who is always challenging you, who is always thinking ahead, trying to improve things, and he's very constructive in it. But on the flip side, he's not somebody who is easy to be handled.
Right. Because he kind of comes across as the guy who's got his own ideas on things.
Yes, yes.
And we'll always kind of push back a little bit just to see where things are. And
but as I said, mainly constructive and mainly trying to develop and help the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think there's there's people like me and race fans from the outside. We kind of look at things and saying, oh, what if something goes wrong? Like basically overthinking things. Sometimes it's helpful just to not think too much about racing. And I guess with him, he's always thinking about stuff because he's so intelligent, and it might work against him as you say.
Yes, but especially in Formula E, very often it does help as well, because it's a championship where the driver does make the difference. Intelligent energy management and things like that. David, definitely that's something of Luca's strength.
Yeah, for sure. Just quickly, the differences between engineering a almost all electric car versus the usual, basically what you've been doing for the last goodness knows how many years with proper engines in inverted commas. I mean, that must have had its own challenges. It must have been quite an interesting challenge for everyone involved. Going into it, for the first time.
I'd say definitely it was, but you need to see that by that time I had really moved out of engineering quite significantly and was mainly in a managerial role. That doesn't mean I have lost completely touch of what the technical side is, and I'm still interested in it, obviously. But it's something different if you really do it, or if you're looking over it and you're trying to advise and bring in your experience.
Yeah, for sure. Just to again step forward, you ended up leaving Audi, I believe, was it 2021? How did all that unfold, leaving Audi? Because you'd obviously been there for for 2 good spells, seen a lot of success and everything, and then was it time to move away, or how did it all happen? If I'm allowed to ask, of course.
Well, yes, you're allowed. I mean, I tend to say grass has grown over it in the meantime.
Sure.
There was Audi Sport at the time was moved outside of the Audi AG, where we always have been one department of the Audi R&D, into the Audi Sport GmbH. And let's say the new leadership in the Audi Sport GmbH, all people who aren't there anymore either. But that was a difficult bit for me. I think the way how things were run, that wasn't really, let's say, how I would have done it, and as well to my liking. I mean, the last thing that we did basically was working out the motorsport strategy for the group, and that was like a committee of 15 people or something like that. And I would never do a motorsport strategy for a brand with 15 people. Yes, you have to discuss with the different departments, but that was super inefficient and a very long process. And at the end of the day, when the motorsport strategy was decided, the new motorsport strategy from Audi, by that time we had already pulled out of DTM. It was decided to pull out of Formula E as well.
Yeah.
and Le Mans had gone already in 2016. So a major change, and the decision was done for the Dakar program.
Yeah.
So I was called into the office basically of the guy who was running Audi Sport at the time, and he told me, Dieter, now we have decided the new motorsport strategy. We're going to communicate that in due time, but you're not going to be part of it.
Wow.
That's how it went. I never got any reason why. I never understood why, but it's what it was. So I spent the time in home office, really doing nothing until new great opportunities came up. And basically today I'm happy about that, because most of the things really which happened in Audi after I was sidelined, I would have done them differently, and I know I wouldn't have had a chance to do it differently. So that would have been a nightmare. And so today I'm really happy that it happened in that way,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm particularly happy because now I can focus on something that I like doing, rather than doing a big company political games and things like that. I'm really having a great time at Jota doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And that's kind of great to hear. You know, obviously it's difficult at the time, but things happen for a reason, of course. And you've obviously now moved onto that Jota Sport. My friend Dan is a huge fan of Jota Sport, and he keeps saying I have to remind him that it's still an English team, even though it's Cadillac and everything else. So he's very proud about that. But anyway, obviously joining up with that Jota Sport, it's gone really well the last couple of years. You walked into a brand new hypercar program at a time where the WEC is probably as strong as it's ever been, certainly in the last
Absolutely.
last 40 odd years. There's new manufacturers coming in. It must have been a great opportunity when it came up, and one I guess you couldn't really say no to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have been in touch with the team already for the very first time already in the end of 2021.
Yeah.
And that was when I had the first conversations, when the first ideas came up in the team to move into the hypercar program once it starts, and nothing had been done by that time. There was no deal in place with Porsche or nothing, but we started talking, and I was asked if I was interested to join, and I said yes, obviously I would be interested. And at that time, then obviously we managed to find an agreement to settle with Audi, and going out of the contract, I was released immediately as well to start working for Jota when it then all happened. And yeah, that was really a super interesting mission right from the start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was an LMDH Porsche was already running, wasn't it, with Antonio Felix da Costa, Will Stevens, and Yifei and those guys. But I've got to very quickly just talk about the Porsche 963, fantastic car. Porsche, you think of Porsche, you think of Le Mans, you think of hypercar and all that kind of thing. It must have been hugely exciting getting the program off the ground. With the customer Porsche, excuse me, and you had Callum Eilert, Will Stevens, you had Norman Nato, Jensen Button, Phil Hansen, and Oliver Rasmussen. That's a good two-car lineup. I mean, it must have been great getting those guys on board.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the first year getting the car on the ground, really, that was another huge experience, really, because if you talk to the Porsche guys today, they would probably tell you that in the beginning in 2023, they weren't really ready to run a customer program at the same time then starting the factory program. So it was all last minute, and we only got the car for Spa. So we missed Sebring, did that with a P2 car, and building the car and getting it on the road. I mean, these were the working hours which I only had experience in Toyota in the testing times before.
Right.
The Spa weekend was one of those where there was not a lot of sleep for anybody in the team really, but you cannot imagine the professionalism and the passion of this team. Yeah, the guys are really super great, and I mean how they went through that, and they put the car on the ground first time out at the green light. We were on the track,
Fantastic.
and it's fantastic to work with such guys.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet. And when you work with good people, then obviously good things are going to happen. Excuse me. I mean, were there any targets for that first year? Were you thinking we can win a race here? We want to just like develop. I mean, obviously you want to win races. I mean, but did you think that was an achievable target for that first season?
No, not really. I mean, in 2023, it was really everything was about starting to work on the hypercar, learn on the hypercar, getting everything in place, and learn for the following season.
Yeah, sure. Just on the subject of like results, I'm a huge fan of Spa-Francorchamps. I mean, I don't know anyone who isn't. It's a fantastic place. We were actually there this year for the 6 hours of Spa, me and a couple of friends. And we didn't get rained on. We were a little bit disappointed. We didn't get wet. It was far too hot and sunny. It was a great experience though. But obviously, it was a race that you guys won in 2024. I'd had Callum on for a chat at the start of the year. He said he was very much looking forward to getting started. That must have been quite an emotional weekend, to win at such a legendary place as Spa, even on the world stage, to win their first hypercar win and to do it the way you did. That must have been a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was huge for the team, and as well. I mean, obviously we were quite lucky with the red flag, but still, there was a race to the checkered flag at the end of the day with the factory Porsche, and basically we were going at the pace of the factory car, if not a bit faster.
Yeah.
And that was a huge satisfaction for the whole team, and a great reward for all the hard work which had been going into the time before that.
Yeah. And nice to beat the factory guys as well. Just a little
bit. Yeah. I mean, we came from Qatar, and in Qatar already we had a very, very strong performance. That time we didn't manage to beat the factory car. We finished second. But the reward with the victory was really great.
Yeah, fantastic. I just got to touch on the switch from Porsche, over to Cadillac this year. I must admit, it did annoy me a little bit because I had Chip Ganassi on here. Ganassi were running the Cadillac, and he said, if you're ever in the States or ever in Europe and we're racing, give me a call and we'll sort out some hospitality for you and all that nice stuff. And then Cadillac went over to you guys. So Chip was out. I was like, no, not this year. But it's fine. It's all good. That must have been a real kind of boost for everyone, obviously, with Cadillac. I want to say preferring to go with you guys than Ganassi. I don't mean that in a negative way against the Ganassi guys, but it must have been nice to get, that kind of recognition and trust from the Cadillac program.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, that was, from our point of view, obviously not a thing against Ganassi.
Of course,
it was just a thing in our own interest, for our own sake, because yes, we have good sponsors with Hertz in particular to be able to run a hypercar program, but I think in the long run, as a privateer, if you want to be competitive, it's not sustainable to run a hypercar. I don't think this is possible on the long run. So becoming a factory team, that was really super important for us with the Cadillac deal.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously with it, you had some very good drivers, guys like Callum left, go to IndyCar, things like that. But you got some of the Cadillac guys in, Earl Bamber and Sebastian Bourdais and people like that. it was everything about it was just strengthening, wasn't it? With the deal, the drivers, and all the potential that came with it. You must have gone into the season this year, really excited for the year, given everything that had happened in the off season.
Yeah, and we were, and don't forget Alex. He was another driver coming over, who's super strong, who really went into the spotlight in quite a few occasions this year, not the least at Le Mans in qualifying. I mean that was super exciting, but again, it was another start from scratch because the car is completely different from what the Porsche was. So we had to learn everything from zero. So the first part of the season was really again another very steep learning curve.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, the obvious thing to touch on here is the qualifying at Le Mans. I mean, it was only the third or fourth race, I think, of the season. I can't remember exactly which. Fourth, where it sat in the season. Only your fourth races with the factory backing and all the changes that have gone on pre-season. Obviously, a fairly strong start to the year, but to have a double, just to knock out the front row at Le Mans. I mean, fantastic. I mean, when you obviously went there knowing there was pace in the car, you could be competitive. That must have been a great feeling once the qualifying was done and you'd locked out the front row. Must have been superb.
It was superb. But as often there's a but. It was superb, and we really cherished the moment. Obviously, it was great, but we knew that the racecraft of the car was not good enough to really fight for the victory. Yes, I mean we know the car, and that is one of the things that we're trying to deal with for the upcoming season. We know that the car is very good in clean air. But it struggles running in traffic and dirty air, and especially for Le Mans, it was missing a little bit of top speed. So as long as you can run in front in the free air qualifying, and we did as well the fastest race lap in the Le Mans race, it's a very, very strong car. But once you're not in front and you have to try and overtake on the long straights, it's getting complicated. Yeah. So obviously that was something which was not an unknown for us after the qualifying. So we were looking to the race with a little bit of skepticism if we would be able to stay where we were.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I actually did read an article in the last week or so where I don't know if he actually said it or if the journalists were sensationalizing it, but the headline was, you said that you have no chance of winning Le Mans despite being on pole, which doesn't. It feels a bit blunt, but I mean that was basically the situation.
Don't recall that, but it's not completely impossible either. But I don't recall that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was probably some journalist twisting something you might have alluded to.
It's very unlikely, because in the same way as you can never say I go to Le Mans and I'm going to win it.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
you simply can't say that. You're never going to go to Le Mans and say I have no chance of winning it.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to go anywhere, are you?
Especially if you're in the front row.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I said that.
That feels like you saying, it's nice to be on pole, but we'll see how the race goes. And someone's just said, "Oh, let's write this instead," which happens. It's very annoying. And I did mention I got a friend of mine who's a huge fan of Jota, and he was at Le Mans this year, and he sent me a message after you guys got pole. He was absolutely ecstatic. He was so happy. So that was great to see. He was also very.
It was good, because at the end of the day, that is one of the highlights that you can set during the weekends.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to take it away from you. You have all the TV images with the two cars in the front row at the race start.
Yeah.
Live images around the world. So it was a great achievement, not only for us, as well for Cadillac.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of great achievements, another win this year. We've spoken about Brazil a lot, in Interlagos a lot. Great to get a win there this year, but especially I remember all the drivers saying that they're ready for the G-forces and everything it's a really tough race on the car and on the drivers as well, and nice to get that one done as well.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I mean, that was an achievement really that we were striving for, because Jota has won in their category a race every year. Even in 2023, there it was the first race that we did with the P2 car in Sebring. We won that with the P2 car before we took the hypercar. So we wanted to keep that statistics alive, and we did. And in Sao Paulo, the car was just super strong.
Yeah, it was terrific, and it's always nice to see you guys win, because the cars look great as well. They're great colour and everything else, and all the sponsors, and it's always nice to see you guys get that success. Just very quickly before we come on to a few little questions at the end, plans and hopes and maybe some expectations for next year, some more race wins, challenge for the title maybe.
Yeah, I think it's our philosophy is always to improve and always to get the maximum out of what you have. I mean, you always to push really to whatever you can. That means we want to do better than we have done this year overall. But I would say that the big target is really to go to Le Mans and hopefully have just a little bit better race than we had this year. We were 1-2 in qualifying. Spoke about that. We finished P4 in the race. Both editions really last year and this year, with all the cars, we have been one of the few cars that stayed on the lead lap, which always puts you in contention for the victory potentially as well. So, I mean, this is really the big target that we would like to achieve, and that everybody's looking forward to.
Yeah, fantastic. I think a lot of people would love to see that. Not least our good friend Sean Lewis, who's tuned in. He's a big Cadillac fan. He said when he was at Le Mans last year for the trucks, a local French guy, he was having a chat with him. The French guy was a Porsche fan. Sean mentioned he was a Cadillac fan, and the French guy said, yes, Cadillac, mark my words, they're going to win Le Mans. So there you go. Even the Porsche guys think we
will give it all.
Let's hope he's right for sure. Thank you for the comment, Sean. Right, okay. I mean, I know you've got to be up very soon for some more travel, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. Just a couple of fun little bits and pieces that I like to pick out from the comments and what I've got here. A guy on YouTube asked a while ago, sorry we skipped over this at the time, at Optimo9786 on YouTube. He says, any particular high points from your time at Toyota in particular that you look back on fondly? What was the high point from when you were at Toyota in F1?
I think, I would say at the end of the day, in terms of results, the podiums, because every podium is really super special, and we did have a few of them, especially in 5, 8, and 2009. So all of them being under the F1 podium, looking to the drivers, listening to the anthem is an absolute highlight. On the more personal level, probably the final anecdote for today is basically back in 2002. I just got together with my now wife a few months earlier than that, and these were the times when F1 was testing in Monza 10 days prior to the race. My wife is Italian, so I stayed at her house between the test and the race. And at that time, I was still Alan's race engineer. So she was at work. I was still in bed. The phone rang, and Ove Andersen called me.
Right.
And Ove Andersen, you know who it is. He was a founder of Toyota Motorsport in Europe, and the team principal for a time, and really the highlight person in the team. And that was the only time he called me directly. So he called me. Obviously, I was awake straight away. And he said, Dieter, we have thought about making some changes to the engineering setup. We think the chief race engineer... I have lost you again. Okay.
Sorry, folks.
I might have sides now, but just for a change. So he said, we're making some organizational changes, and the chief race engineer, we think he is better off heading the R&D department back in the company, and you, with your experience from Audi, we think you could be the one taking over the chief race engineer position.
Wow.
And this is one of these situations that I mentioned earlier on, one of those questions that you get asked and you cannot really say no to.
No, sure.
So I said yes, and I said yes, but I don't feel that I can continue engineering Alan at the same time as being the chief race engineer. That's probably a little bit too much. So I need a different race engineer who takes over Alan's car. And this is what we then did for the race in Monza.
Wow.
And this is how I became the chief race engineer in Toyota.
That's very cool, being like asked directly from the founder. That's very, very cool, isn't it?
Yes.
That's great. Okay, a question that came in quite early on. David Allen, what's been the most challenging moment in your motorsport career? I'm sure there's been a few.
Yeah, there have been a few. Probably the most challenging one was 2011. The first Lotus that we built and designed in-house with a completely new team that only started at some stage during 2010 to design the 2011 car. You can imagine how tight that schedule was. And basically, we got to a point where prior to the season, we started failing the nose crash tests.
Right.
And that was a massive one. One of the major discussions that I had with Mike Gascoigne at the time, because you can imagine he was not happy.
Imagine.
And emergency plan put in place, building noses in the composite shop, one after the other, to try and smash them against the wall and pass that crash test. And I think that was the year where the Bahrain race, which was the first race of the year, was cancelled for this political unrest that you had at the time.
Yeah.
And I think if that race wasn't cancelled, we probably would have missed the first race because we didn't have a nose which was crash tested. Managed to do it then for the second race, and everything went smoothly and nobody noticed. But I think that was probably the most challenging moment with the highest pressure in the background.
Yeah, wow. I'm sure it was. Goodness me. You're kind of glad the first race didn't go ahead. Got it done. Okay, just some very quick ones. There is one more I'm going to come to right at the very end. Very quickly, did you have a favourite driver when you were young? Obviously, you were well into motorsport when you were a kid. Did you have a favourite driver when you were?
Yes, when I was a small kid, it was Jackie X.
Oh, gotta love Jackie. What a lovely guy.
Yes.
Yeah, hugely underrated as well. And people talk about drivers from that era because he was never champion, and perhaps he could have been with like Jochen Rindt and everything. But the guy could drive anything, couldn't he? F1, he run Le Mans, goodness knows how many times.
Yeah, Dakar.
Dakar,
Unfortunately, and there we come back to the beginning of the conversation when he was talking about Gießen, where I'm born. Obviously, the other driver then that I was following very, very closely was Stefan Bellof, and super unfortunate that they came together there at Spa.
Yeah, he's one of the real big what if stories, isn't he, Bellof? Real shame. Yes, he was from your hometown, of course. Okay, I mean, is there a series? I mean, obviously you've done loads of different series, and you're very happy with what you're doing. Is there anything that you'd like to be involved with one day before retirement, like IndyCar or I don't know, NASCAR or supercars, anything like that?
No, I'm not really looking so much into changing from here, to be honest.
We like that.
You never say never. You never say no if the right question comes up. We know that. I've been through that. I would definitely love to go and see a NASCAR race.
Yes,
in an oval. I think this is definitely on my bucket list. I want to do that. But working in NASCAR. We have recently visited a team. Interesting to see how they work with the amount of cars and as well the level of detail which has been worked with there. It's really, really impressive. But as you mentioned, I mean, we're really now in a period which is the pinnacle of sports car racing.
Absolutely.
At least if you look into the amount of manufacturers that is involved, I think that is unprecedented. And for the time being, I take this as it lasts.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's a good place to be right now, doesn't it? Which is great. Okay, I mean, have you had? Oh, here we go. Have you got a favorite car that you've had like control over, either in as a manager or as a race engineer, or anything like that? Was there any car that you thought that one was really good?
I might have to say the Bugatti 110, the EB 110. Yeah, an incredible car, really. I said I did a lot of driving on my own with it, and it's late. There could be more stories. There could be more stories on that, but that I think that is ultimately my favorite car.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Glad to hear the Bugatti getting some love. Okay, two more questions. Jane Hutchison asked a while ago, what was your best moment in your career? I mean, you said there was the moment with Toyota that you said. What was the best moment overall of your career so far?
That's a very good one.
Because again,
I mean,
there's been some good
luckily there's plenty of good moments.
Yeah.
But I would tend to say the best moment was the Class 1 DTM.
Okay. Right.
The Class 1 DTM, they were proper race cars, super fast. And the way how we dominated this championship over 2 years with the Audis was fantastic. I mean, you could go out and race. I know there were always plenty of discussions about team orders in DTM, and it was all playing chess of the management. All not true. It did happen. Mainly, I would tend to say before my times, but obviously you have a task if you're heading a big car manufacturer, motorsports activities, and that is winning championships, and you have to do what you have to do to win championships. But luckily, other than I'd say luckily, in most of the cases, really, we could have a proper fight on the track.
Yeah.
And the interesting bit with that as well is that René Rast, he has won 3 championships, and all 3 championships without team order. I can say that, always fighting fair and square. And there was one season basically where we got team orders for René, and that was the season where he didn't win. That was 2018,
right,
when that was the last year with a V8, where there was a developed V8 in the cars, and we were super bad in the very beginning. Then we were allowed by the opposition to make some small development on the car in order to just catch up. And all of a sudden we started winning, and René won 6 out of the last 7 races, and almost managed to win the championship in the very last race. And that was basically the only year where we had team orders for René.
Well, there you go. See, team orders not always the deciding factor.
Yeah. But as said, Class 1 times, that was for me, that was somewhat the highlight, because it was fantastic racing.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
Top racing as well on the track. I mean, you can ask Timo Glock as well. The rules in the DTM side to leave space for the car on the outside, always no discussions on who was in front at the apex and things like that. Fair and square racing. You just have to leave the space for the car next to you. And I mean, you probably have seen Timo and Gary Paffett fighting in Hockenheim in 2018.
Yes.
I never thought that 2 cars could come into the Motordrome next to each other, but
yeah,
they did. I mean,
Yeah.
and that was the quality of racing that we had many times.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It was that drag out of the hairpin, wasn't it, into the auto? Yeah.
Yes.
Superb. So, leave space for the car on the outside. It's so simple, isn't it?
Yes.
Because
No forcing off track.
no track limits, none of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to get onto that.
Let's not start with that.
Yeah, we'll skip that. Okay, this is the last question. I ask it to everyone, and it's a rotten question, and there's no answer to it. I don't even know why I ask it really, but I mean, you've worked with some amazing drivers from through DTM and Formula E and F1 and everything else like that. Is there a driver who stands out as maybe not being the best, but just someone who you really admired for their approach, or just someone who just stands out that you've worked with as being particularly impressive? As I say, not the best, but just impressive.
Well, there's plenty of impressive drivers that we had in the different championships and the different brands. I mean, you've mentioned Lucas Di Grassi. You have Matthias Ekström as well, who is a very genius guy as well in many concerns, but as well not always easy. And I think if I have to name some, you have Alan, you have Emmanuel. I mean, there's plenty of guys, but if I have to name somebody with a special relationship on the driver, I think it should be Nico Müller.
Ah, good show. Okay.
Yes, that is definitely a surprise for you. Why Nico? Nico is somebody that I got involved with back in 2012. That must have been when we did the first young driver test that I was involved in Audi. And basically, what happened? We didn't always have a seat available for the upcoming season, but that year we had. And obviously, there was some interest in Audi to get a German driver, and René Rast was on the radar. So what we did, we said, okay, we're going to split that young driver test in two. We're going to do one day with young driver testing where we test new talents around that we see in the world. And we do, on the second day, we do a shootout for the seat in DTM. And that shootout was supposed to happen between René Rast and Adrien Tombe. And we go to that first test day, and we have that young Swiss, young Müller, that I had seen in, I don't remember, it was Spa or Silverstone, in a wet GP3 race where we were in parallel with F1. This is how I saw him on the TV. And he did, in the wet, he did an outstanding race there. And I said, this guy is really good. We got to get him to the young drivers test. And he came to the young drivers test in DTM in Audi. And he was so strong that we decided, okay, we do that shootout not only with Adrian and René, we put Nico in the shootout as well.
Right.
And what happened is that for whatever reason that nobody possibly can understand, René did not perform. He simply did not perform in this test. That was the reason why he didn't get the DTM seat, even though we would have liked the German driver to have. Nico and Adrian were both fantastic. Adrian was just a slight bit better and got the seat, but I stayed in touch with Nico over the time, observed what he was doing, and we got him in the year after.
Fantastic.
And this is why that relationship with Nico is really something personally for me very special.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's always nice to end on like a surprising answer, but one that's is obviously correct, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, he paid back. I mean, the performance that he was showing in DTM. I mean, the fights for the championship with Renault in 19 and 20, that was just super strong, and I'm very happy for him that he has got now the Porsche seat in Formula E.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's going to do very well with it as well. I think that's a great place to wrap up. I mean, I'm so sorry we've taken up nearly 3 hours of your evening. It's flown by.
It's nice, obviously, because many memories come back, and it's always a nice thing to dig in deep into these things, and it's fantastic. I liked it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Firstly, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in. There's been loads of you who have tuned in. I hope we've covered everything. All the comments have come in. I think we've covered everything. Thank you very much for your support, guys. We have one more chat coming up before the end of the year, which is next week. We'll be announcing that very soon. But of course, the biggest thanks go to Mr. Dieter Gash. Dieter, it's been absolutely brilliant speaking with you. I'm very, very grateful to you for coming on and having a chat. And I've loved hearing your insights from a different perspective, because we normally speak to drivers. So it's great speaking with you, and I'm very grateful for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
Right, fantastic. That's great stuff. And of course, we wish you all the very best for 2026, and afterwards in whatever you choose to do. Hopefully, you'll stay with Jota for a few years first.
We'll see. I'd be happy to do that. Let's see how things pan out.
Fantastic. Great stuff. Thank you very much, everyone. Huge thanks to you, Dieter, and we will see you very, very soon, guys. Take care.